Welcome, friends, to the Here I Go Again podcast, where we discuss life, faith, politics, and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Rob Standridge, and I'm glad you're joining us today. So with that, here we go. Here we are at the Here I Go Again podcast, our, sixth episode with the Honorable Mike Reynolds. Welcome, Mike, and how are things going these days with you?
Well, I guess still above ground, so you couldn't ask for more, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we talked a little bit before we came on air, so I want to talk about some of the things we talked about. But first, I want to go back in time a little bit because those folks watching, our friends out there in the political world, they're going to know Mike Reynolds for sure. I mean, you spent a lot of time in the House. You spent a lot of time in the grassroots, and we want to get into your activism there and all the great things you've done. Okay. But I think some people would like to know, where did Mike Reynolds come from? What got you interested in politics in the first place? So share a little bit maybe about growing up, when the bug bit you, so to speak, to get involved in our government. Share a little bit of that if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Well, I was born in Quantico, Virginia. That worked well on the doors because everybody that had a Marine bumper sticker on their car automatically voted for me.
Yeah.
Grew up in a military family. My dad retired as a major in the Marine Corps. My uncle was, if you kind of want to know the Reynolds personality, my uncle was the head DI at Camp Pendleton for 2 tours. So we were pretty straightforward. I attended one grade school my whole life in South Oklahoma City, Prairie Queen. I went to Jefferson Junior High. I went to U.S. Grant. Back in the U.S. Grant glory days, people didn't know we had them, but we were actually the highest class state championship wrestling team. And I went to the Air Force Academy for a couple of years, transferred to the University of Oklahoma, and then unfortunately moved to Houston for 8 years because I couldn't find a job in Oklahoma.
Okay.
Although there was a good thing about Houston. I met my wife there, and so after 8 years in Houston, moved back to Oklahoma City and living in the same house for the last 43 years.
So when you moved to Oklahoma from Virginia, I guess, was that your dad?
No, we were Southsiders from the start. My grandmother was born in Blanchard, Oklahoma before statehood.
This was before your family was from there.
Yeah, my grandmother's house was on Southwest 20th Street, right off of Pennsylvania. That's where my dad grew up. But he joined the Marine Corps. In fact, that's an interesting story right there that I can tell you. My dad was in high school, and he lied about his age and joined the Marines. He got sent to boot camp. They found out how old he was. They sent him back home, but my grandmother signed an exemption so that he could go right back again. So he started the Marines early and was in there for 26 years while it was in the reserve for the bulk of it. But
now, what year would he have went in? Was that a wartime or just peacetime?
Well, and I said it was an interesting story, and I dropped the story. So my brother, we haven't gotten anything about him yet, but my brother was elected as a state senator. And a bill was passed by Senator Keith Leftwich to honor 26 veterans that lied about their age and left high school early and went to join the efforts in World War II. And so, and my dad was being one of those 26. Leftwich did it for self-promotion. My brother got elected to office, and they found out that my dad, who was one of the people being honored, had a sitting state senator as a son. So instead of Senator Leftwich getting to be the master of ceremonies, my brother was. Probably one of the few people in the United States that ever got to give his father his high school diploma.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, what year was that in the state senate?
I think that was 2000.
2000s? Okay, 2000.
And my brother still got a picture, front page of the Daily Oklahoman, on his wall, handing our father his high school diploma.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that was kind of fun, and it took the glory away from Senator Leftwich, who was using that for self-promotion to get reelected.
Politicians do? I have
not often.
No, not often. So we're in Oklahoma now. Now, just to go back just a second, so what what kind of work? What brought you to Houston? I would think that's an interesting piece. Why would you had to go to Houston to get work?
Well,
what were you trying to get? What kind of work were you trying to get?
Well, they didn't have degrees in computer science back then, which was, I guess, 1973.
Yeah, they wouldn't have had it.
They had degrees in mathematics, and they may have a specialty in computer science or something of that nature. But I was interested in computer science, and I applied for numerous jobs in Oklahoma, and they were paying. I mean, the wages are not really easy to compare for people nowadays, but they were paying like, the best offer I got was like $545 a month.
Okay.
I went to Houston and interviewed with anybody I could get in the door with, but I was looking at big oil companies, interviewed with Gulf Oil, and they hired me on the spot.
At double the pay, or
well, it was strange. It was a real blessing. The gentleman that made the offer to me, he offered me $1,100 a month, which was, I guess that was about double.
Right, yeah.
But he said, you have to start on March 31st. I'd graduated in the fall. You need to start on March 31st. And I said, sir, I've been in Oklahoma for the last many years. I don't think I can. This was on a Thursday. I was going to have to be back down, pack up everything, and be back in 3 days. I said, I just don't think I can do that. And he said, well, can you be here? And I said, well, I'll be here by next week for sure. And he said, well, I'm going to put you on the payroll for March 31st. But boy, you better show up. And it's like, okay. Well, about a week later, once I showed up, I found out why. Because everybody that was an employee on March 31st got a 10% raise. So he gave me a 10% raise before I ever went to work.
Oh, wow.
So
he wanted to keep you, didn't he?
So it started off pretty nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Lived in Houston for 8 years. Met my wife. Met her on a canoe trip in the Guadalupe River of our First Baptist Church, Houston.
Okay.
We went over there. They'd go a couple times this summer, and tens of thousands of people go down that river, and that was just another really peculiar thing in my life. Circumstances that happened. I mean, Houston was probably a city of, I don't know, 2.5, 3 million. I lived in an apartment in a city of 2.5, 3 million. It turns out that off the balcony of my apartment, there was some strip centers, office buildings, and her office was immediately 50 feet off of the balcony of my computer. But we met at a river 200 miles away.
Well,
and I would have never seen her because that was the back door to the offices or anyway.
It is amazing the stories you hear. When you're meant to meet, you're meant to meet, I think. And I worked with, my wife for years before we ever dated or anything. But somehow I think my heart knew it. The first time, maybe you sensed her 50 feet away and said, "Okay, I got to meet that girl."
I may have.
Maybe I need to go on a canoe trip.
I know going to the river the first time. She was in a canoe with somebody else. I was with someone else, but some intoxicated people drove through the campground in the middle of the night, and they drove into the river.
Okay.
And now, the river wasn't that deep right there, but their car was stuck, and they were just raising all kinds of ruckus, and nobody could sleep. So I got up and started a campfire, and she came out and joined me at the campfire. And then I watched her the whole next day going down the river, had my eye on her. That was a Saturday. Sunday night, I was at church on Sunday night, and my roommate was sitting by this really good-looking blonde. And I go, man, all the girls gravitate to him. And she came by and said hi to me, and it's like, who are you? And
it's the same girl.
It was the same girl. She has this blonde hair halfway down her back, but the whole day on the river and the night before, it had been wadded up in a baseball cap.
Right.
And I had no clue it was the same person. So
right. That's funny.
It was pretty funny.
Well, I know you talking about family. You met my daughter at lunch. I usually give her a cameo in these, and she's got to go here in a little bit.
Okay.
So she's working over there, but I want to have her jump up and say hi to you. And I think you guys were talking about MCAT and LSAT.
Yeah.
Holly, you want to jump in here and say hi to Representative Mike Reynolds.
Thanks, Holly.
And so Holly's studying for the LSAT. So I did not know this till you told me a little bit earlier that you actually took the MCATs, as Ben Stiller would say on Meet the Parents, but you took the MCAT.
Yeah, age 42.
Age 42. Holly's going to beat you on the LSAT by a few years, but I didn't beat you very far. Actually, I didn't beat you on the LSAT, but that's pretty cool. So any words of wisdom for Holly studying for a test like that?
Why study? Just have fun.
That's probably not bad advice. You loosen up.
Don't get tense.
Don't get tense, right?
You test well or you don't test well, right? Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Holly. Appreciate it. Well, anyway, so back to Houston. So God brought you all together, and you got involved in politics down there, or no?
No, not at all.
All right.
Well, in a sense, that's you're going to ask the right questions today. The Southern Baptist Convention was on the verge of becoming a liberal group. And so things happened in the late 70s that turned it around. Probably the only Protestant denomination that has actually turned around from going liberal to going back to conservative. And one of my mentors, who was actually he took me under his wing. I'd become a new Christian, and he
while you were in Houston.
While I was in Houston.
Oh wow, okay.
That's where I met my wife at First Baptist Houston, and he had taken me under his wing. We'd go play racquetball, do things like that. Turns out, I didn't know this then, but he was the youngest person ever elected to the Texas legislature.
Oh wow, okay.
Elected at age 21, and in Texas. Okay. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Because they represent about 6 or 8 times as many people.
It's like a congressman down there, yeah.
Just about, for running the election. And so he and another gentleman were kind of responsible for turning the Southern Baptist Convention around and organizing and stuff like that. And I was just sitting on the sidelines watching, and because he was mentoring in my faith and stuff like that. But I saw what he did, and so he became pretty much a hero for me. And I asked him, how'd you do that? Which is kind of goes along with what I'm doing now. I said, how did you turn it around? He said, I just read the Constitution, the Southern Baptist Convention Constitution. And we saw what steps it was going to take. We were going to have to win elections for about 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
And we could turn it around. So I had that foundation of just read the Constitution, read the rules, which is kind of a contrast to how the legislature works now, where they don't have any rules, but seemingly.
Those that make the rules make the rules, right? And interpret the rules.
Yeah. And so he never encouraged me to run for office, never thought about it when I was in Houston, didn't really think about it for 10 years after I moved back to Oklahoma. But I remember one of my sayings, I've got a few that people may or may not appreciate, but it was, Mike, you can't fight every battle. And my response... Did you
listen to your own advice?
No,
you're about to.
I said, I don't fight every battle. I only fight the ones I know about.
Oh, there you go. I like that. Yeah, you can't fight every battle, but the ones I know about, right? So you're in Houston. You met the love of your life. And you got saved. You found God, and you found God in your family in Houston. So what made you come back to Oklahoma?
Well, another good story. I worked for Gulf Oil. That was my first job. I worked there about 4 years, and Gulf Oil was destined to be bought out. Boone Pickens was green-mailing major corporations, and Gulf was like the 4th largest oil company in the world.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And Boone Pickens decided to come after us. And that probably wouldn't have had a big impact on me, but I was recruited by a headhunting company to go to another company. I was a specialist in a certain database technology. And it was a new startup company called Houston Oil Minerals. And so I went over to Houston Oil Minerals during the time that Gulf got bought out. But I don't guess I was going to avoid a buyout either way, because about 4 years later, Houston Oil Minerals was bought out by Tenneco.
Okay.
And whether it was good or bad, Houston Oil Minerals was the best paying oil company in Houston. I mean, by far, they only recruited people that were perceived experts in their field. Small company. The man that founded the company was like the chief geophysical engineer for Shell, I think, and he believed natural gas was in the Gulf of Mexico, and nobody else believed it. And Shell wouldn't let him go drill in the Gulf. So he started his own company, and boy, is there natural gas in the Gulf of Mexico. So our salary structure was about twice as high as any other equivalent people in Houston. And Tenneco really had no use for us when they bought us out. And they sure weren't going to keep people around that were earning twice as much as their other employees. So they pretty much just rat-holed us. I probably went to work for 6 months. I was looking for a job, but couldn't find one. And it's like, okay, it's time to go back home. So my wife and I moved back to Oklahoma City, moved on where we live now. We've been there for, I think, 43 years now. And so came back kind of forced into it, and certainly was glad I was forced into it.
So did you go to work for an energy company, oil company, when you came back to Oklahoma?
When I came back to Oklahoma, another headhunter had found me a job with Hertz.
Okay.
And I went to work with them for 5 months and could not stand it.
Programming, I assume, or computer
in the
stuff.
data processing area, yeah, and systems analysis and things, I mean, it was, anyway. But I was there 5 months, and it was such an unprofessional situation. I went and told them, I said, I'm sorry, you guys paid my moving expenses. They paid for the birth of my first child because we lost our insurance when we moved, and Hertz paid for that and everything else. I said, I can't handle it, this supervisor. And so they offered me his job, and I said, I'm not going to take the job of a guy that's been here for 20 years, and you've got 26 other employees I'd be supervising. And I go, the new guy, he's been here 5 months, and now he's our boss.
Yeah.
I think it's time just to leave. I know that gentleman was walked out of the building about 3 months later. So hopefully they got a decent new boss. But that's when I went in business for myself, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
So just, I'm a computer guy too. So going back, was it COBOL maybe that you were messing with?
I wrote programs in COBOL.
Okay.
But they had access to databases. Most of them used IMS, Information Management System by IBM.
Okay.
But the company that hired me, I had learned another language that was coming in called Database. It was developed by a company in Germany, Software AG. Okay. And we were the third major company in the United States to purchase that at Houston Oil Minerals. So
yeah, I've never messed with that one. I pulled in COBOL stuff. Yeah. I've never actually done it, but it's database development.
Just database stuff. And and I'm sure people sit on the internet now and they think this thing takes forever. That's because there's programmers that write super inefficient code and it takes forever. And and there's others that write very efficient code and it happens quickly. So
and of course, if the data behind the engine is
exactly
slow or free, a lot of those internet things are using free data servers that just aren't very efficient.
Well, and when I came back and started my own company, that's when the IBM PC desktop computers were just firing up.
Right. Okay.
And so there was some programs that I started writing programs in that.
What language did you write in? Still COBOL or
no? Basically, you could do that, but on these, I wrote in a language called DBase.
For sure. Yeah, DBase.
And it became FoxPro, a Microsoft product years later. But gosh, I wrote an application for churches that I sold to churches. They were starting to bring their data processing in-house instead of using service bureaus.
Now, was that in DBase or FoxPro?
It was in DBase. FoxPro wasn't there initially. It didn't come along till
late 80s, early 90s?
Well, until Windows came along, because this was all in DOS.
Right, yeah. Okay, yeah.
So did that. I've still got one company up in O'Keene that runs programs. I wrote for them, I think, in 1992.
Oh, really? Sweet.
So, they call me about once a year when they have to go through the year-end update. They never quite remember how to do it, and I'm telling them, you better take good notes because I'm forgetting how to do it too.
What's interesting about in our political audience, probably not paying any, they're fast forwarding past this part, but what's interesting about computer languages and operating systems is for a span there, I wrote quite a bit for Unix and Linux and that kind of thing. To this day, in my opinion, there's not a better business platform. I mean, it's so rocket fast. You can do anything, but everybody wants Windows. And there's a plus to that. I mean, I see why, because you got all the other stuff that you can do. You don't have to have one system dedicated to your business program and then have a Windows on your desk. So it was bound to happen eventually.
Yeah.
But kind of missed the days where you had such a dedicated operating system where you could just write a massive database program that just was pretty much served its purpose and that purpose only. But
as you know, in the old days, you had just computers that were you had monitors.
Yeah,
they had no intelligence.
That's
they were
right.
hooked up to a mainframe computer, and Windows killed all that. And that's probably a good thing, but it also leads to lots of hacking and lots of turmoil. We have to spend so much time and money when
that's right.
hackers get in, which they couldn't get into the old systems.
That's correct. Yeah, and why would you? I mean, unless they want to, I guess, to steal data. But as far as what they do with Windows, they just hack Windows for fun, I think, sometimes.
Well, but not fun for us.
Not fun for us. Well, okay, so you're in Oklahoma. You're doing your own business, which is awesome, and Hertz sponsored your new baby. You started your family. So anywhere in this, does politics enter into your mind at all?
Not at all. But after I left Hertz, I needed work.
Okay. So you didn't have a job already. You're just, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. My first year in business for myself, I made less than 1/15 of the amount of money I made my last year in Houston. So it was kind of tough times with a new baby and
for sure,
et cetera. So we tried to figure out what are we going to do. But I was just I was burnt out in the corporate environment. I'm just barely paying the bills, and that was enough for me. But I started bidding on a few state contracts. And then I also worked, as we were coming to your office today, we went by a building that reminded me of something that really got me fired up on politics.
Okay.
It was a company called Golden Arrow Gas Energy.
Don't know if I've ever heard of that.
You might have, but they were a natural gas pipeline transport company. They really didn't drill for gas or anything else. They did transport. And I wrote programs for them that they used to submit reports to the Oklahoma Tax Commission. And this was because nobody had PCs. They were gearing up with PCs and things like that. And so I began writing programs for them and worked for them for several years. I mean, I don't know, maybe total billing hours, maybe it was a month's worth of work a year after the initial startup.
After you wrote, then you just
just maintain, and they want changes, or the tax commission would want changes. But they had a lawsuit going on that, I mean, they only had, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 employees. I'm not quite sure. I worked with a group of about 5 or 6. They had a few employees there that that I interfaced with and did my thing. But I knew that they had this lawsuit going on. They had been, as I understand it, they had take-or-pay contracts.
Okay.
Which I don't know if all the listeners would know what that means, but basically,
I'm not sure exactly what that means.
In order to hedge the dramatic price fluctuations, you would enter into a contract. Let's say that you drilled an oil well, and the oil's selling for $20 a barrel, but last year it went down as low as 10, and it went as high as 40. You would enter into, let's say, a 1-year contract and say, okay, I'm going to buy oil from you at $25 a barrel. I don't care if it goes up or goes down. For 1 year, you got to give it to me. So we both have a guaranteed, so we can budget and do things off of that. So they had a bunch of take-or-pay contracts, and the contracts were broken because the price of natural gas dropped dramatically. And so Oklahoma Natural Gas decided, we're not going to we're not going to honor those. We're going to save the ratepayers of Oklahoma.
We're just going to buy through a different channel or something.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not really saving the ratepayers anybody if you're cheating people out of contracts.
Correct, yeah.
And so...
Shouldn't have signed it.
Shouldn't have signed it.
Right.
And so there'd been an ongoing litigation for years, I think 5 or 6 years. And I knew it was about to be heard in federal court in Denver. And so on one day of the week, I get a phone call, and they said, "Hey, Mike, we need you to come down and help us. We've got to get some information out of the computer." And I said, "Well, I see your lawsuit's going to be in court." I think this was a Tuesday or something, but in the next couple of days. They said, "Yeah, so you need that information for the court proceedings?" And they said, "No, what we need it for is we've sold the company."
Oh, okay.
And I said, "Oh, okay." Well, so I was at another client. I still remember where, but I said, "Okay." And I went down to Golden Arrow. And in fact, the Oklahoma Constitution's got several stories about this going way back. So I went down, and as it happens, I wrestled in high school. I was on
U.S. Grant.
U.S. Grant. Yeah. My coach was his name was Virgil Milliron. Coach Milliron was he made a lot of men out of boys and made us pretty hard-headed. If you don't think I'm hard-headed, you probably do. Anyway,
no comment yet. We'll wait. I'll make a judgment call later.
So, but he had in the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, he had off of his team 2 gold medalists and a bronze medalist. Out of one high school coach, that's pretty significant.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. that something about that made you interested in politics.
Oh, yes, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So Golden Arrow Gas Energy, they call me up, and I go down to the company, and I sit down with a guy that I hadn't met before, and we started visiting, and it turns out he was the first state champion for my high school wrestling coach.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
So
for your coach during high school.
Yeah,
right? Okay.
yeah. Now he wrestled at John Marshall, and our coach had come from John Marshall over to Grant.
Okay.
So he was his name was Mike McAdams, as I recall. I'd never met him before, but we had an instant camaraderie because we both wrestled for a legend.
Right. Yeah.
A legendary coach. One of the first 2 coaches inducted to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame out of high school.
Okay.
So anyway, I go, "What's going on?" He goes, "Well, Ron Brown and Nora and Jean Lumber in town to buy out the company."
The Golden Arrow Company.
Yeah, the Golden Arrow Company.
Okay.
I had been paying enough attention to politics to know who Ron Brown was. Didn't quite know who Nora and Jean Lum were.
Yeah, okay.
Found out later they're the only 2 people that ever went to prison for illegal campaign contributions to Bill Clinton's presidential campaign in 1992.
Okay. Tidbit I didn't know. Okay, yeah.
And Ron Brown, on the other hand, had been ambassador to Vietnam. He had been Secretary of Commerce, and I forget the other position he was in, but he mysteriously died on a hill, I think in Bosnia, in a helicopter crash, when some claimed that the helicopter may have been shot down purposefully to get rid of Ron Brown.
You know, I can't. It's kind of like these scientists that we recently found disappeared or died. I think the Clintons probably outdid 11 scientists. What is it, like 50 around the Clinton circle, finding themselves face down in a creek or in a shower or on a hill in Bosnia. Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, so Ron Brown was going to buy this company,
and I was really nobody. I wasn't involved politically, but I knew this was important because Clinton had just been elected president, and the lawsuit. One of the people that had been deposed in this lawsuit was a guy named Mac McClarty.
Okay, he
was the chairman of ARCLA, and apparently he had taught ONG how to break these contracts, and he had been deposed in this.
Okay.
And so the Clintons didn't want his first chief of staff appearing in a federal lawsuit. So they came to town. How do we get rid of the lawsuit? We'll just buy the company.
Just buy the company. Oh, that's weird. Okay.
So they bought the company. Well, it wasn't because they had a profit motive.
I was going to say, usually it's a totally different reason. Okay.
So from my understanding, they bought the company, paid about $10 million for it. The company was probably worth $1 million.
Okay.
Except if they'd won that lawsuit, they were going to be worth a lot.
Okay.
So anyway, they bought the company, moved it to Tulsa. It became Dynamic Energy.
Okay.
And some other people got involved, but later on, I had been telling people about this. In fact, the day it happened, I called a local newspaper investigative reporter, and they didn't know me from Adam. They had no reason to come down and believe me, but that person regrets to this day they missed the biggest story of their life. I used to see them at the Capitol and make fun of them. I'm not going to name them. But
it's not Trace Savage.
No.
Okay, just to clarify.
And so, no.
Trace,
anyway,
you wouldn't have been there, Trace. I know that.
So they bought the company, and then they got a contract for, as I understand it, for $40 million. So the cost on their contract was about $30 million, so they had $10 million in excessive profit. And I had been telling folks about this and not going anywhere because I'm just a guy on the street that wrote a simple computer program for a company. But I got upset about some other goings on at the Capitol, and I was spreading the word. I recruited my brother, who's tied in here, to run for state senate. He had a state senator. His name was Ben Brown, 20-year incumbent, lots of money in the bank.
Democrat, I'm sure.
Democrat.
Right.
My brother and I had never knocked a door in our life. We'd never made a campaign call.
And what year was this?
2020 or 1999.
Either 2000 or 1990?
I'm sorry, 2000, not 2020.
Yeah, so it's 1999 when you're starting to
the campaign,
right?
And so
first ever time to run a campaign, and your brother, the sucker, said, "Okay, fine, I'll run."
Well, even that's an interesting story, and I'll come back in a second.
Okay, all right.
But the National Right to Work people did some polling, and they realized my brother was likely going to win this race.
Where? I mean, sir, before we get further, where is that district? Where is that original district?
Well, and now it's Kendall Sacchi-Aries, but you know how they redistricted.
Yeah, so where was it then?
It was Del City and
that's what I was thinking.
Into southwest Oklahoma City, over as far as Walker and 89th Street.
Okay, so kind of a band that stretched across South Oklahoma City.
Well, it's kind of like an L. You know, from 89th and Walker, 74th and Walker, all the way over maybe to Sunny Lane or Sooner Road, and then up to Reno.
So it was when the rural districts were a little bit smaller.
Well, this wasn't rural.
This is a suburban district.
Yeah. Suburban. Yeah. And it was Democratic.
Yeah. Well, everything was Democratic.
Yeah.
Until 1999. Yeah.
And so we'll come back to there in a minute, but the Right to Work people did some polling, and we weren't getting any help from the party at all. Zero.
Not even not the Republican Party.
No.
Okay.
Zero.
All right.
We won that campaign with $20,000, and my brother knocked doors for 5 months. But the National Right to Work people had a full-time employee assigned to going knocking doors with my brother. I mean, literally bang on his door at 6:30 in the morning and say, "Get out of bed, let's go."
Wow. Okay.
And I had talked to the Right to Work people, and Kirk Shelley was the gentleman in Oklahoma, and I told him about this natural gas deal, and he told he told Bob Anthony, and also told some people in Congress, and they actually flew to Oklahoma to interview me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On that. I mean, not interview. I mean, sworn testimony.
Right. Interrogate you.
And yeah. Well, and I was giving them information that they wanted.
Right.
About
a friendly interrogation.
Yeah. It was Dan Burton's Committee on Governmental Affairs or something. He was the chairman. The Republicans, Clinton was the president, but the Republicans had the House majority.
Right. Yeah.
And so they came and interviewed me about this situation. There's so many different offshoots from that. The vice president of the company died mysteriously 3 days before he was supposed to testify in Congress.
Of the company that bought
Golden Arrow.
Oh, Golden Arrow Company. Okay.
Because they told me that he had told them that Asian money was coming in and influencing elections in Oklahoma.
Really?
And he had apparently numerous recordings where they were trying to buy him off to end the lawsuit. The president of the company was ready to end it, but the vice president wasn't. And so he went in the hospital on a Saturday morning with some respiratory problems. I think he was 53, 54 years old. By evening, he was in severe respiratory distress, and he was dead on Sunday. And medical examiner, I think, as I recall, said that it was because he was a heavy smoker. But then the U.S. medical examiner came and made him avoid that and say causes unknown. And I think the stories went that they believed that he may have contracted anthrax and was assassinated because he was getting ready to testify in Congress.
But they never confirmed the anthrax
no,
diagnosis?
No. So anyway, so it was kind of interesting, but I knew
Was Bill or Hillary around the area at all?
Well, I mean, Ron Brown's in town buying the company.
Right, yeah.
And so...
but they wouldn't want them to stop the lawsuit. They would want them to continue, because that would be
no, because Mac McClarty was Bill Clinton's chief of staff.
But wouldn't Brown want the company to win the lawsuit?
No, they wanted the lawsuit over so his testimony wouldn't come out.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
They didn't want, apparently, the lies he told... Bill Clinton's first chief of staff. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but...
Yeah, too bad we didn't have air tags back then. We could have tagged Hillary and Bill and known exactly. Yeah, but then of course they would
there you go.
Find somebody, subcontractor to take care of that.
So it was. So I became involved politically, kind of at that point.
So you're saying right? You say right to work? Is that right?
Yes. Well, it was the national. Yeah, right to work individuals, I guess. That Kirk Shelley was the Oklahoma right to work.
And they wanted Jim, your brother, to win that.
Because they were trying to help Republicans, real Republicans, take control of the state Senate,
so they could get right to work through.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And so.
Spoiler alert! Eventually, they did. But
well, yeah. As a matter of fact. I'll throw in right now because I'll forget later. I actually did the data processing for the Right to Work campaign in Oklahoma.
Really? Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
I printed all the lists that were distributed statewide for the volunteers to make phone calls and stuff, and worked for Mark Noble in that campaign. Well,
I tell you, one of the most, and we can touch on this later, but one of the most consequential campaigns that you provided data for listeners, and that's one of the things you still do. OklahomaData.com. But, I mean, who could think of a more consequential race where you provided the data for somebody that never ran for office? And that was my first run for Senate.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. You may not remember that. You may not remember that, but
I know. I forget a lot of things.
Yeah. So I used your app and everything. That was before. Eventually I hired a consultant, but I mean, I still used your data. It's and you have a way. The way that you do it, and all of it comes from the same data, right? We all know that.
It all begins the state election.
That's right. But the best data you can find is the data that's been combed through electronically,
right.
Validated, proper addresses, proper names, proper numbers, all those things, and I don't think there's anybody better than you at doing that. And so, anyway, a little plug. Yeah, you don't either. Good job.
And it's really frustrating.
We did rehearse that, so you got to say nobody. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's now at OklahomaData.com though. Is that where they would go to learn more about it, or
they could email me or whatever? Okay, because that's my email address. Mike at OklahomaData.com.
Okay. But anyway, I know there's a lot of candidates, and we're going to get back to your stories, but. I mainly think about the Senate, with my wife serving now. And so there's a lot of campaigns going on out there. And so this applies to anybody running for office, though, not just somebody facing an incumbent. It could be for incumbents. It could be for anybody. And I'll leave it to you on whether you provide data to them or not. But I would say if you don't have good data, this isn't a sales pitch. This is just reality. You must have good data. You must knock the right doors. When I first ran, I'll never forget, before I had a consultant, I talked to a number of people, including my predecessor, Senator Jonathan Nichols, who wasn't on board on my team necessarily, but I think he thought I might be able to win. So he was very kind to me. He's a great guy. And very sad story there. But anyway, great gentleman, loved Jonathan Nichols. And one thing I told you, one day we were talking about something. He said, well, how's, this going? Because, my opponents had been knocking doors for a long time. And so I was knocking some doors. I had printed, my first flyers were like your trusted pharmacist. I mean, they were really cheesy, if you will, but because
I did a picture of a bulldog. Can you imagine that?
But I mean, I did them myself, and I'm not I'm a good graphics person, but I'm not a politician. So they were subpar in the world of politics. But anyway, and he's like, okay, well that looks okay. So where are you knocking at? I said, well, mainly I'm going to try to get Brookhaven done. And so we narrowed down which one, and I said, well, I got these streets done. He goes, you're not knocking. I can sense that you're knocking all these doors, Rob. Yeah, I said, you need to go get a list. So that's when somebody had recommended you, talked to you, and I called you, and you know what? I think no data is free. I know I eventually paid you some, but to get me started out of the kindness of your heart, you actually sent me data and said, use it for a while. Tell me what you think, Rob. And so that's how that started. I mean, I used it. Maybe my free trial went a little longer than it should have. But anyway, so I used that data, and it was in both the data and your app, which I've written software now for walking, which has a lot of similences of yours, actually, because simplicity is the
simple.
key.
It's got to be simple.
You need simple. These graphic things that people have maps and all that stuff, all it does is slow you down.
Yeah, just slows you
down. You need simple. If you can read a street name, then you're armed. You don't need a map. You got Google Maps.
You're already on the street.
Right.
You just need to know which house is on the street.
You don't need to look at a fancy map that takes 5 minutes to draw on your phone. Yeah. But anyway, so the campaign. This is before you were in creating data for races, I assume, in 1999. You weren't doing that yet.
No, actually, I began doing data in 1992.
Oh, okay, all right.
And in 1996, I put up Oklahoma data because the election board said it's too expensive to put the voter records on the web. And I said, really? I've got them on the web right now.
So did you do that work for the election board?
No, I just did it for me to prove them wrong. I do that way
really?
Too much.
That's so surprising. Okay, so we missed some time there. So I want to get to the part where the epiphany happened and Mike Reynolds says, I've got to take a leadership role in politics. I need to get it. And so it must have happened before you started doing data. Because you didn't have any political interest when you moved back from Houston.
That's correct.
And what year was that when you moved back from Houston? 80s?
82.
82. So there's about a decade went by. Somewhere in there, there's a light bulb went off, and Mike Reynolds' head said, wait a minute.
Yeah. Someone came to me and they said, look, if we had good data, we can win elections.
Okay. Do you remember who that was?
I do.
Who was that?
I'm not saying because
but this would have been...
I couldn't say it without saying that I despise that person with all my heart.
Okay, fair. That's fair. That's fair.
So,
but again, okay. Well, but it's probably is it a Republican or Democrat?
Democrat.
Democrat. Okay, fair
no,
enough.
I'm sorry, Republican.
Really, a Republican. Okay, so this would have been in the early '90s, probably. Or early to mid '90s.
91, 92.
92. Okay.
Yeah. And so I took the list. And used to be, I'm sure you remember, we used to have these, well, they had 5 1/4 inch floppies.
Yeah, sure.
And then they had 3 1/2.
Yeah, they lasted for a while. Yeah.
And so
they were supposed to be foolproof and last forever. I think the 5 1/4 actually lasted longer than the 3 1/2.
Well, but you can appreciate this because, and again, I guess I'm a little hard-headed, but I wasn't making a lot of money.
Right.
But I saw an opportunity, and I had people say that when they did a mail out, 50% of the mail came back. It's like, well, I can help there. And so the post office had a service that if you brought in discs of data, 1 disc, 10 discs, they would process the data and standardize it because but for it to go, used to be they didn't have to go through NCOA. So they don't want it to say P.O.box. They have a standard way. PO space, capital B, OX, whatever.
Okay. They standardize.
No periods. They standardize the data. I literally got the state election board data, which is another interesting story. We've already skipped over 2 or 3 here, but
okay.
Because it turns out a guy that I went to church with, unbeknownst to me, was responsible for the state contract when they were going to the new system in the early 90s.
Okay.
But anyway, I went and got the data. That's where I met Jerry Bonin. I gave him a good story because the data didn't have the voter history. And I said, I need the voter history. And it's like, we don't have it. Well, why don't you have it? Well, we just don't have it. And I found out.
But they were keeping it somewhere, right?
They had it. And the problem was it wouldn't fit on the hard disk that they had. So they ordered a new hard disk. Literally, this is the excuse they used for not installing the hard disk. We didn't have the four factory authorized mounting screws. Okay. Imagine that. And that's because they didn't want it installed. They were afraid Republicans could make something with it.
Well, yeah.
So Jerry Bonin got on the radio. He was the news director at KTOK and started working them over. And
pretty soon they were able to install it.
They were.
Found the screws, I guess. Then they got screwed in the process.
And so, anyway, but I got the data from them, and I took it to the post office. I literally had to create 30 floppy disks a day, and I took it to them for like 20 days to get all the voter records in Oklahoma standardized.
Oh my gosh!
So you got to be pretty hard-headed to do something like that with no contract for anything.
That's for sure.
But that's when I started doing data, and then I think in 1998 I discovered there were 50,000 duplicate voters on the files. I think that made the front page of the Daily Oklahoman, and it forced the election board to purge lots of them. The system was set up so that one county couldn't access another county's data, which was insane, but it was by design. And I knew that providentially because a guy from my church had been a part of the design team. And he'd actually quit the election board for a whole nother set of reasons that I...
So why would they, what is the strategic or whatever, or the financial reason not to include...
Because if you had a senator that was running in 5 counties, then you made a challenger go to each county individually to get the data and
instead of going to one source.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
So I mean, they always did stuff for, if you think there's not a reason for why it's screwed up, there is. You just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, we've skipped a bunch. Why did I get involved? Oh, so I because I was doing those voter records and I wasn't making much money, I bid on a couple contracts at the state to do computer software. And one of them was for the state pharmacy board.
Okay.
And you'd know about
that. I don't know if I know that, but as a pharmacist,
there was a guy named Brian Potter there.
Yeah, I know Brian. I knew Brian. Yeah.
And so I bid on a contract. It turns out Brian's executive assistant, her father bid on the contract too.
Okay.
Matter of fact, not only did he bid on the contract, he wrote the specifications.
That was handy.
And so I didn't know that at the time. There was a bid opening, and I went to the bid opening, and I've got this.
Was it a competitive bid?
It's supposed to be.
Okay, all right.
And it was, I think he bid $88,000, and I bid $47,000. I've got this deal.
Right, yeah.
They selected him. And it's like, you've got to be kidding. I found out that he had done the Moore stuff when they had the big scandal. Apparently, the last person in the office before the Moore computers crashed was him, which covered all the financial data for years.
Okay.
Et cetera. Found out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I filed a protest at the state and found out more. But after about a year, I started getting anonymous mail with big briefs and stuff like that. And it was information directly related to my case. Good information.
Okay.
So...
that sounds corrupt to me.
But which side was corrupt? Maybe both.
I mean, I don't even know. I don't know what the law says on that, but I assume the law is at best gray.
Well, and it was kind of whistleblower stuff too. So anyway,
clearly you had a whistleblower. You just probably didn't know who it was.
No, I didn't for about a year.
Okay.
Then he and one of his friends started taking me to lunch.
Okay.
And they were investigators for the state pharmacy board.
Okay. That were now becoming whistleblowers because they...
Well, they were still investigators. They didn't like what was going on because they had turned over numerous... Wow, I'm really getting deep into it.
Yeah.
They had turned over numerous pharmacists that were illegally dispensing narcotics that got caught, and they were never prosecuted.
Okay.
And they didn't know why.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. Usually you don't get away with that. Yeah.
And they believed that the director was using those pharmacists that they caught for his own benefit.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I met with them for a couple of years. We finally got to court on my protest. The whole thing is rigged. If you try to protest a contract, it is totally rigged. Because
by the time you get it protest, it's already
if
new,
it's already
right?
done, then you can't. All you win if you win a protest, all you do is force them to rebid it. If the work's already done, there's nothing to rebid.
That's correct, right?
But after 3.5 years, the project wasn't done. This simple $80,000 project.
Oh, so you're kidding me? Oh my God!
And so
probably was never going to be done.
It was never.
Has it been paid for yet? Probably. Some of it has.
And so anyway, we go to court. They scheduled the hearing for, I think, December 22nd. We want it during Christmas, so nobody's paying attention.
Right, yeah.
We go into the courtroom, or not the courtroom, it's actually in the Capitol. We go into a conference room up there, and the judge announces, after I introduce all my exhibits, the judge announces that it occurs to him he might have a conflict of interest.
The judge may.
And so the judge, it's an administrative law judge.
Oh,
so he asked the attorneys to step out in the hall, and then they come back, and my attorney says, well, he's got a conflict. I've got to tell you what it is and tell me what you want to do. Okay, what's his conflict? Well, apparently last month, the director of central purchasing hired this judge to represent him on a DUI, knowing full well this case had been scheduled for 2 years. So now the judge, after me introducing my exhibits, offers to recuse. Wow. Thank you, Jay Israel. Judge
you're
Israel.
not, if you were in a law practice, you're not allowed to do that. That's
Of course. Well, he was a lawyer too.
Well, I know, but I mean, I don't know if that's grounds for disbarment, but you actually have to do research to make sure there is no conflict ahead of time. Any research on that would have
and that case had been coming at him for 2 years.
Right. He would have easily found, if he'd have looked at his docket, that he had a conflict. We can assume he's innocent or we can assume he's not. Yeah. But at the end of the day, a lawyer is required to do that. Now, maybe a judge gets a pass. I don't know. But if you're a lawyer and you do that, knowingly entering into something that would be a conflict, you get in trouble.
So I've got the choice, proceed or not. Well, I've already waited 3 years, and I already know I'm not going to win, so let's proceed.
Yeah.
So we spent a couple of days. It was a lot of interesting things. The bid opening, I remember, I believe was on July 5th. And the envelope, they have to stamp bids with a stamp saying the date they received it in the mail. They can't open them until bid opening, but they get them ahead of time. So we asked them in court, could you please explain how the face of the document, not the envelope didn't have a stamp on it, but the face of the document in a sealed envelope had received Pharmacy Board July 2nd when the bid opening wasn't until July 5th. Could you help us out with that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
They couldn't explain it.
Right.
That was the kind of ridiculous hearing it was with a rigged judge of the nature they had. So that got me even more fired up about
that would me
corruption
too.
in government.
Yeah, clear.
The first, So anyway, there's a lot of other things like that we probably already glossed over some of them. But
so that kind of was the beginning of your interest in politics, and so
that was just another thing. The
so
right
you
to
fast
work
forward,
stuff.
and in '96 you say you started Oklahoma Data.
Mm-hmm.
You started providing data,
but I've never made a penny off of it.
Really. So do you
don't know how to market it?
So do you provide data at that time? Did you supply data to some races?
Oh no. My online website, I've never made a penny off of.
Right.
I sell data lists.
Right.
But my online data, I'm tons of assistants at
where
the
you can
Capitol
look it
use
up.
mine because it's a heck of a lot easier to look up with
That's right.
mine than the election boards.
Yeah, good luck remembering your password and all that for that thing. For the election board.
Yeah, you got to know the birthday of the person you're trying to look
That's right. Oh, you're talking about the public one. Well, they have one where elected people and stuff.
No, but I'm talking about
as soon as they expire, your login expires like every 90 days or something like that. You can't ever get in. But okay, so in '96, did you start supplying data to candidates then?
Well, I'd already started probably in '92 or '93 when I was processing those floppy disks.
Okay.
So, but I never charged that much because I'm not very good at marketing. I'm horrible at marketing. I've got so many people right now. It's like, how much you want to pay me? I don't have that much. I got a guy that, anyway, so I need a good marketer.
So how many candidates do you have right now that are using your data, do you think?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
And I'm selective. I only help candidates that I think will help the cause anymore.
Thank you for that, Mike. I know that you do, but anybody that he says no, just pretend he's too busy, right? Don't take it personal. So yeah, I would do that. But
I've been selling lists ever since then,
right?
But not a lot, just because it's about the cause. It's not about the money. And don't tell my wife. I hope she doesn't watch this. She knows that anyway.
I'll send her a link out. She can see this. But so when your brother, former Senator Jim Reynolds,
let me tell you how that happened.
Okay.
So Frank Keating had this thing called Open Door After 4. I mean, I'll probably forget that we had lunch today, but I remember he had this deal to let the public come see him.
Okay, cool.
And so Helen Cole used to live in my district.
Okay.
And I became a precinct chairman in about '94. I had a friend, Jack Dake, that ran for county party chairman, and he was passionate about getting people out to vote. And getting Republicans to do stuff. And so I was a precinct chairman. Helen Cole's been to my house 2 or 3 times as a precinct chairman. And so I was telling her about this deal, and she said, well, why don't you go to Governor Keating's Open Door After 4? And I said, okay. And I met her up there one day. And she, while we're sitting waiting to see Governor Keating, she's telling me about a couple of folks that, and it's like how can you, she said, my 2 favorite people are Ben Brown and J.C. Watts.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just to clarify, this is Helen Cole. This is Congressman Tom Cole's mom that was senator at the time.
She was a state senator.
State senator at the time, yeah.
And so J.C. Watts, I could understand, but Ben Brown was the senator that ultimately, goes back to my brother, but Ben Brown and one of his compadres, Bernice Kane, when the Democrats were in charge, Bernice prevented any pro-life bills whatsoever. He was chairman of that committee.
The health committee, yeah.
Ben was in the committee. One bill that they were somehow forced to put up on the board was banning partial birth abortion.
Okay.
These 2 men who were classmates at Oklahoma Baptist University voted against that.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And that went all over me. And then Helen Cole's telling me how, she just likes Ben Brown for some reason. I'm going,
well, he's a politician.
What?
Politicians get elected because people like them.
Yeah.
Whether they're good or bad.
And he'd only been married 5 times already.
Well, sure. You got to test the waters.
So anyway, that just went all over me. And that's really when I decided to target Ben Brown.
Okay.
And I didn't live in that district. And I spent a year looking for a candidate to run for that office.
So he essentially voted for partial birth abortions.
Yeah. He voted against banning it.
Right.
So,
well,
he
voted for it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, he might as well carry a bill saying, yes,
yeah.
here's I'm going to open up a shop for partial birth abortions and more, and come on, form a line.
And so I started. I looked for a year. I asked numerous people. I won't name them, but you know some of them. And they all said, yeah, I'll think about it. And one actually told me he was going to do it. Used to be we filed on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Right.
Till a couple of years ago. And so I had one gentleman that told me on Tuesday evening he was going to do it. Called me in the morning.
Nice. Yeah.
And so the next morning he wouldn't answer the phone.
Because he was contacted by Ben Brown.
No. He was a Republican. He just was
that's
a chicken and he wasn't going to do it.
Right.
He just
chickened out.
So I'll never forget. My brother called me up and said, hey, what are you doing? I'm going, nothing. Because I'd just given up on a year's worth of recruitment. And he said, you want to go to lunch? I said, sure. And we met at the Pizza Hut. There used to be a Pizza Hut at the corner of 89th and Penn.
Okay.
And my church has bought that property now, and it's gone. It's a parking lot. But I said, sure. So I went and met him at Pizza Hut, and I'll never forget. He said, why do you look so glum? And I said, Jim, because I've spent the last year trying to find somebody to run for state senator in your district, and as of now, I've given up unless you'll do it. He goes, yeah, I'll run. I said, okay, little brother, I'm going to ask you again. You want to run for that office? Yeah, I'll run.
Oh.
I said, you got a sport coat? He said, no. My brother's a painter and a good one. But not now. He's a senator and county treasurer and all that stuff. But this is what got him started. I said, you got a sport coat? No. I go, you got dress pants? No. You got slacks? Yeah. You got a dress shirt? Yeah. Go get your dress shirt. Go get your pants. I'm going to go and get a sport coat and a tie. I'm going to come pick you up. I'm going to go to the bank and get a check. And we got him filed about 15 minutes before
deadline.
Now, that is pretty stupid, isn't it? For somebody that's never knocked a door before.
And usually those people don't win. And they
usually get like 15 or 10% of the
right,
vote.
and they usually don't do anything. They usually go file because nobody else has filed.
Yeah.
This guy needs an opponent, make him spend some money. And I'm sure Senator Brown probably thought that at the time. Oh, who's this guy? He can't. Republican can't win here.
No chance.
He's not going to do anything.
And the party's not helping him. He's got no contributions. He's got nothing.
Right, yeah.
But he never going to.
But he's got 6 months, because it's. Or
he's looking at the Reynolds brothers, and he didn't know who they are.
Yeah.
So
he doesn't. Yeah.
So we go get filed. I remember after he filed, I went over and introduced him to Jim Dunlap, who would. He'd be a good follow up for this.
Yeah.
He goes, because Jim, I'd known Jim. I'd been an activist at the Capitol.
Now, was Jim
for years.
in office at that time?
He was the minority leader.
At that time. Okay.
So that's why I went to see him.
Yeah.
We go in. He goes, what's going on? I said, well, my brother Jim just filed for office. He goes, wow, that's great. And we had this conversation. But Jim would tell you, he goes, yeah, when Jim Reynolds came into the office with Mike, it's like, you could have knocked me over with a feather. Because I said to Jim, what's your wife think about it? He said, I hadn't told my wife yet.
You're kidding. Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
I'd ask him till noon. You know?
Yeah, right. You've been with him all afternoon getting him signed up, right? Get him a jacket, get him a tie.
So anyway,
that's funny.
Jim said, I just about fell out of the chair, but I was trying to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
Because, hey, we got someone running against Brown. That's good for us, you know.
Yeah, right.
So we did that race with not one penny of help from anybody but our friends.
What about leadership in the Senate? Did they have any money at that time, or wouldn't help?
I don't know, but zero help. No. Zero help.
I think the world of Jim Dunlap. Looking back in time, I bet he wishes they could.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Strummed up some money.
Well, and they gave money after the election.
Right.
But we were looking. Here's what we did.
But they probably didn't think you had a chance.
That's correct. Yeah. They didn't. They didn't.
And not that that's a good excuse, Jim. But I mean, yeah.
But they didn't realize who they're dealing with.
Yeah. Right.
And that's all right. There's not everybody cut from the same mold as Mike and Jim Reynolds and our brother Bob. So we go out there, and Jim is knocking doors for 10 hours a day for 5 months.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm talking 5 or 6 days a week minimum. And Ben Brown had 62% Democratic registration.
Really, 62%.
31% Republican registration.
Wow.
And 5% independent.
He didn't need to do anything. He didn't need to walk. He didn't need to knock doors, make phone calls.
But he needed to vote against. He didn't need to vote against banning partial birth abortion.
So when did that come out?
Oh, every
early.
Door. Every
door.
On
the door.
We told every. That's why I recruited my brother. I can't stand a man that would vote against banning.
It doesn't make
partial
any
birth
sense.
abortion.
I mean, even today, which the Democrat Party has really gone completely off the cliff today on all these issues.
Yeah.
But even today, I think an Oklahoma Democrat. Because our Democrats maybe aren't as crazy. Maybe some are.
Some of the rural ones are pretty good.
That's right. Well, my family,
my
wife's family, my family were all Democrats at one time, as everybody in Oklahoma was. And I could go talk to a rural Democrat today, and if I told them that Senator so-and-so voted for partial birth abortions, they would vote against them.
Yeah.
I mean, and so now you're talking about 1999 when Democrats and Republicans weren't that far apart on a lot of these issues. Mm-hmm. I mean, whether it's guns or pro-life, I mean, they weren't pro-abortion then. They were just not rabidly pro-life. So anyway, that came up on the doorstep, and I assume a mailer or something was sent out to that effect, or did you do that?
Oh, no, we told everybody at the door.
So you didn't do mail campaign?
We didn't have any money.
Didn't have any money?
We wound up
So not one single mailer?
I don't know if we did any or not.
Okay.
We only had $17,000 at the end of the campaign.
Signs and brochures, and that's
Signs,
it.
brochures. Yeah. We may have done... I think we did do one mailer because Ben Brown sent out one. I guess he started to realize he was in trouble. He sent one calling Jim Reynolds "liar, liar, pants on fire," and it had this caricature of a man with his pants burning.
All right.
But
you probably didn't keep that, did you?
We may have it somewhere, but
I try to keep all those.
Well, I Unfortunately, I've been on the ballot 13 times.
Yeah, you got too many
so
to keep. You ran out of your scrapbooks. Ran out of scrapbooks.
I think John Eccles, when he ran against me, I think he did 17.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
So, and John's my friend now, but that's the only campaign he ever lost.
Well, so John, though, his district now, or when he was in, is west of where you're
because of redistricting, and I let that happen. I made it happen.
So that he ended up, instead of in your district, he ended up in the adjacent district.
He ended up in Charles Key's old district.
Charles Key, okay, which he.
But we were going through redistricting, and I fixed that because John and I were friends. I mean,
right.
And so I was going to bring him, that little spur of Cleveland County, into my district, and I heard he might want to run for office, and he'd moved out there, and I said, I'll keep you out, which was a bad move because it gave us Chris Kennedy, but that's another story. Otherwise, they had to run against each other. But
that would have been a battle. Yeah.
No, Kennedy wouldn't. But anyway.
I think John's give credit where credit due. John is a great campaigner.
Yeah,
so I don't know if, I don't honestly, not sure. I think I would have picked John in that battle.
I would have too. Yes, that's why I just said it would have been better than we never had Chris Kennedy.
Yeah. Well, he, I watched him early in his current. I mean, this is the John Eccles that's running for Attorney General. Mm-hmm. I watched him earlier in this race, and he is a tireless campaign. I mean, he's all over the place. So
So you imagine what it took for me to beat him.
He does. Yeah, he does have an opponent. So, and I met his opponent, but I just can't imagine somebody outworking John and winning that. But we'll see what happens.
And so we've gone off on another trail. We got to go back. We were at something.
Well, we were at former Senator Reynolds, and that bug that bit you, OPHA corruption.
Yeah.
That's
pharmacy board
corruption.
And I also bid on the software at the Ethics Commission, and it was rigged.
So you're responsible for this crap we've had at the No,
I am. I am. Because I found out they rigged the bid. Well, and the way they rigged it.
They rigged it this last time, I'm sure.
They rigged it the first time.
And it totally incompetent, evidently.
Company. With a company out of California.
Wow.
And I had a lady in California that despised them, had bid against them before. And in the bid specifications, they sent it out in a Word document. And you probably know, but they didn't, that Word documents have the underlying properties of who drafted them.
Oh, yeah.
It had
if you look
the people in California drafted the bid specs.
Talking about your brother Jim, you got him clothed. You got some clothes on him. You got him signed up. You worked tired. He knocked on all those doors and
we told people one thing. Ben Brown voted against banning partial birth abortion, and those Democrats said there's no way. And we said here's the phone number of his assistant at the Capitol. Here's the bill. You call and verify.
Wow.
But we also learned something else because we had to have a push card. And I'll never forget, that's when people really, unfortunately, don't care enough about where you stand on the issues. If you meet them at the door, a lot of times you took the time to come to my door and vote for you.
That is correct, yes.
And that's why knocking doors wins races.
I'll just tell you, people are relational, and they are at the Capitol too. As those of us insiders, I guess you might say, are people that actually work and are passionate, unlike politicians, that just want to have senator in front of their name or representative in front of their name. I think I put us in a category of people that care, that want to make a difference. And you get there and you see slick politicians win because they can be nice. You got to be nice. So they have that ability to be nice and convince people that push card is really them when it's not.
Yep.
And it's frustrating.
Yep.
But at the same time, we recognize that conservatives, Republicans work a lot. And that 5 minutes that they gave that person cements that vote almost every time.
It does.
If that voter takes another little bit of time, I wish they would, but I'm not going to chastise them for not, because that's just the reality we're in. If they did take just a little bit more time and just put those push cards next to each other and somehow maybe Google them or Facebook them, in this day and time, you could probably find if that's really them.
What they really believe.
Or call one of their friends, find them on Facebook and find one of their friends and message them and say, hey, is this guy really, and so I think a little bit more investigation would be warranted, but people just, they're not going to take the time. So so Republicans have got to do a better job of vetting our own candidates. The Republican Party, that is. I mean, I think
they're trying.
I think they're trying, but it's going to have to be a better system. That's why I love the Freedom Caucus, which we're going to get to in a little bit, because I think as one of the founding members of that, I just think that it's early in the Freedom Caucus, but I think it's incumbent upon us to find a way so that we can help people learn whether these people are real or not.
Yeah.
So if you have 5 people, I guarantee you probably 3 or 4 of them are fake. And which ones? Because a lot of times the voters think the wrong one is fake because he may not be as talented on the doorstep, may not be as convincing, may not be able to sell ice cream to Eskimo, but he's actually or she's actually the real deal.
For real.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Well, it's gratifying. I mean, I don't have any idea how many doors I've knocked. And my son has knocked more than me because he would go with me every step of the way. And as you know, when you go to the door, people want to talk to you.
Yes, for sure.
My son, he could get away quicker than me.
That's
So
right.
he could knock twice as many doors a day.
That's right, yeah.
But, I mean, we knocked as many as, I think, 380 doors in one day.
You got to. That's not possible. Really?
Well, no,
Wow.
we rode scooters. I pioneered.
Right. That's right, the
before
scooters.
Lime scooters.
Right.
It was
yeah.
it turned out
Yeah,
it was my
you told me-
trademark.
you told me this,
Everybody.
yeah.
Oh, you're the guy on the scooter.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway.
So did Jim knock doors for you as well?
No. For
when,
me.
when you ran?
Yeah, he did knock.
Okay.
Not as much. I mean, it's my son and I every day. I mean, just
Yeah,
tirelessly. But Jim, let's go back to his for just a second. So we had this huge number of Democrats versus Republicans.
Yes,
we had
62
no money.
to refresh people's memory. 62% Democrat to 31%
Something
Republicans.
62, 64.
60-30 essentially.
Yeah, for a 20-year incumbent.
Right. And somebody that even Senator Cole thought a lot about it and liked.
Yeah, it's
so
like,
so
are you
obviously
kidding
even
me?
Republicans liked it. All right.
And that's the problem. Most of the cooks, they have to be super likable to be a successful crook.
Oh, there's no question. In fact, I found anyway in my 12 years in the Senate that the most, I hate to use the word, you use the word scum, that just sounds so bad. But the worst characters in the legislature, and just to be clear, there's a lot of good people there.
For sure.
There's a lot of good people
Not
that probably
enough,
shouldn't be
but
in office. But there's a lot of good people that shouldn't be in office.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good people there, so I don't want people to think that all people are bad, because actually most of them are good. I would say that 70-80% of them are good. Of that 70-80%, probably a third of them shouldn't be in office because they just don't have the stomach or the stamina for it. But the bad ones are really bad.
Yeah.
They're really, really bad people,
Yeah.
but they're really nice. They can lie like they're telling you the truth. They can lie. They could probably tell you
it's their second nature.
They could probably tell you their moms died of TB 3 years ago, and they'll go out and put a bouquet of roses on the grave, thinking that they're really care for. People fall in love with them, and they like them, and they're charismatic. All of these things that a group, at some point in time in America, we're going to have people that are willing to vet these people.
Yeah.
And because liars lie, and it works in politics.
It works.
It works. It works very, very well, actually. Anyway, so we're back on Jim. The odds are completely against him.
Yeah,
But
and-
Mike Reynolds steps in, and
Well, I brought him to the table, and
Right.
he's knocking doors, and the Right to Work guy is going with him every day knocking doors. I'm printing the list every night and putting them on the bed of his pickup.
Okay.
At 3 or 4 in the morning each night.
so you're like a paper delivery guy.
Yeah. Here's the doors you knock, and then we had access. I don't even want to go down that road right now. It's not. I'm scared to, but we had access to a phone center that we could use anytime we wanted to call for Jim. It was run by a Democrat, but since I was running it, he said anytime you want to use it.
Oh, okay.
You can.
So did you
use
get some phone callers going too for
We
him?
had phone callers going also, but it was a really hot summer, and it hadn't rained for a while, and we really hadn't heard much out of his opponent at all. In the Friday night before the election, his opponent, now this was a general election, Republican, Democrat.
Right. So it's November, and it's the Friday before the vote.
Friday before the vote, it rains, torrential rainfall.
Okay.
And he had actually, sometime in the night Friday, on Friday afternoon, his team had gone out and put up his signs. And his signs said nothing but brown. And they
Right.
were brown ink with white letters. And there were signs that were like this. They weren't like your big campaign signs. They were about 4 inches tall in the standard width.
Oh, really?
Cardboard signs, brown.
Okay.
Brown.
That's
Just-
it.
Just a name.
Not reelect, nothing
Yeah,
else.
just
Okay.
brown. And Saturday morning, every one of those signs was bent around the stake. And I said, we're going to win. Because the rain.
Because they weren't, at that time, we didn't have the plastic, corrugated plastic. They just cardboard.
Cardboard sign.
Could have done it out of wood, been better off. But
Well,
who knew
not
it
that
would,
many, but weren't counting on that.
We weren't counting on the torrential rain. So all of the brown just wimped out.
Yep.
I thought maybe you were going to tell me that the white and brown ink ran together. And
What I was
it
going
looked
to
like
tell you is brown folded.
Brown folded. That's good. Brown folded. He was done. He was
over.
He folded like a cheap lawn chair. Yeah.
And then I had my first lesson in politics at the Capitol.
Okay.
My brother wins. The day after that.
We built this climax, Mike. Now, how bad was the win? Was it 5 votes? Was it 100 votes?
I don't remember, but it was substantial.
Substantial. Okay.
So it was.
So a
it was probably
60-30 ratio with some independents thrown in there, and yet he wins substantially.
I'm going to guess 53-47, 54-46.
Oh wow. Okay. Which is a blowout in politics.
Yeah. Particularly against the other party.
Yeah.
And so.
Did they spend money? Did the Democrats spend money on him?
I don't know, because we wouldn't have gotten their mailers and stuff.
Because they wouldn't need to mail the Republicans.
Yeah, and we made the decision. I don't think I'm totally ignorant on just facts. Jim, he said the only day he almost quit was the day I gave him the numbers. Because I said, Jim, you've only got like 32% Republican registration.
He went like this.
It's like, why did you tell me that? so
thanks a lot, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he said that was the only time I ever thought, this is impossible. I'm not going to do
Yes.
this. Anyway, so he got elected. The next day, Governor Keating calls him. Other people called, congratulating him. They started sending money then. Well, thanks,
well,
guys.
Sure. Then.
I mean, we didn't know to take loans and all that stuff. We'd already done our deal. And then Frank Keating insulted my brother.
Really? Seriously? Oh, wow.
He said, Jim, I've worked with Senator Brown a long time on the Department of Mental Health. I'd like for you to sponsor his appointment to the Board of Mental Health.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I told my brother, you couldn't be given a bigger insult than that. You just vanquished a 20-year incumbent, and Keating wants to bring him back in.
Yeah.
So, Governor, you made a big mistake then. Didn't like that one bit.
Yeah.
Still don't like it.
I know Frank. I just can't. He's just such a super nice guy. He probably didn't.
He should have thought about that one.
I don't think he thought about it. I'll tell you this, though. When I got elected.
And Ben Brown then created a scandal at the Department of Mental Health with ghost employees.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
I do remember the ghost employees. I didn't know. So when I got elected, my toughest opponent was a guy by the name of Jack Beller. I like Jack Beller. He's a physician, orthopedic surgeon, extremely smart guy, was a tough campaigner. We got along great. And then after I got elected, he got appointed to something. And Governor Fallon did that. And I had several people, and it's not the same as Jim's deal because it wasn't
because
like
you had to sponsor the nomination.
Right. And so people did come to me and they asked me, including the pro tem of the Senate, who I think the absolute world of Brian Bingman, who's now a corporation commissioner. Brian Bingman was one of the greatest, best leaders, not super conservative, one of the best leaders I've ever served with, inside or outside of politics, to be honest with you. Especially after my last 6 years in the Senate. Made him look so much better.
For comparison.
But no, he was really good. But anyway, I had a lot of people, including Brian Beeman, come to me and say, you know what, we can refuse this nomination. This was your opponent, blah, blah, blah. And I actually, maybe it's because of the way it was approached. Mm-hmm. I actually gladly carried that. I actually thought a lot of Jack because of his tenacity. I mean, it was a negative campaign, but I loved his tenacity and his toughness, and I still do. I respect that. And so, and I think he thought, or it was OSMA or something, I think they thought I wouldn't carry that. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I mean, I like the guy. I mean, in fact, I like people that are tough. I'd rather have somebody tough and maybe just a little bit not that nice than some fake $3 bill guy that stabs you in the back and talks to you and gives you a big hug. Yeah. You know, and he's just full of crap.
But you respected that guy.
I respected him.
We had no respect for Ben Brown.
That's correct. So it's different. Plus, it sounds like it was snuck on you instead of
the next day, the day's elected.
Right. Instead of a process that says, we know it was a tough race. Would you be okay with this, or do you want the heal? You want it to heal for a year or two? So it's different. And so but again,
different situation.
Frank, I just can't think badly of Governor Kemp. I mean, I think the world of him. I'm sure he wasn't the perfect governor, but I do. I like him a lot and respect a lot of things that he's done.
Oh,
over
I
the
do
years.
too. A lot of things he's done. Didn't like that.
Didn't like that one. Right.
Didn't like that.
We'll mark that off. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine and that's fair. So you got Jim in there.
Yeah.
You got this little hiccup with the politics. So how did the Democrat leadership? I'm sure they embraced him and brought him in the fold.
They did.
Oh, did they really? Okay.
Stratton Taylor was the pro tem.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
And every year.
Who was the minority leader? Was it Jim Dunlap
Jim
still?
Dunlap.
Okay.
Jim Dunlap.
Okay.
And
Well, I'm
so-
sure he was tickled pink. I would assume Jim Dunlap was.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
what was the number? What number was Jim in the caucus at that time?
Well,
so there's 48 senators.
We got 3 that year.
3 that who?
Jim, Jonathan,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
that other Yahoo that decided to run for lieutenant governor and left the party when she didn't get any help. I forgot her name. Nancy.
She switched parties.
She switched parties.
Yes. Yeah.
And it almost cost us the Senate.
That's correct but at that time it wasn't going to be 24 though. She wasn't 24, was she?
No, we already had 24, and she was going to switch. And we had the governor, the lieutenant governor, to break the tie, so we were going to win.
Okay.
And then,
But then it was 4 more years, wasn't it?
no, because
Sykes came in.
well,
Schultz was the tying vote. Mike Schultz. So he would have come in and.
when my brother got elected, that only got us up to like
Yeah, that's what
17.
That's what I'm talking about.
17.
So
I'm
he
just
was
saying
at
those
17.
people came in.
Right. So 17. He was number 17.
I think it was.
Out of 20. You needed 24
Yep.
to tie.
Right.
So he was 17. I think the tie happened in 2006, if I remember correctly.
I think that's right.
So
he
Mike
was
Schultz,
2000.
I think,
Right.
was the tie, and then Sykes came in and broke the tie in 2008. I would assume somewhere
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got Jim in,
And Jim's in, and so then, and I didn't live in that district. I couldn't run there. I wasn't
Right.
moving or whatever. So Jim's in, and but I had been active at the Capitol for 10 years, going up and talking about stuff and things of that nature. And I had planned on running when the term limit stuff kicked in, which was going to be 4 more years. I'm patient.
right.
But then 2 years later, I was working for a Christian nonprofit in Houston. It's the only work I could find. I was flying down on Monday mornings, coming back on Thursday nights.
So it was a
sometimes
regular
Friday
job.
nights.
It was a regular job.
Well, it was a contract thing,
Okay.
and they'd heard that I was. Well, again, it was a life experience. Another man, when I was at a new Christian at First Baptist Houston, I have a friend named David Lane.
Okay.
David is very big into national politics. He organizes events called Pastors in Pews, and he's been doing it for 20 or 30 years.
Okay.
He actually, I think, learned how to fundraise for Reagan, raising money for the Contras.
Okay.
To arm them.
Wow. Okay.
New Orleans.
Not for
North.
campaigns, but for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he raised money. Then he raised, I think, $200 million for Liberty University.
Okay.
So he knows how to raise money.
Yeah, okay.
Unlike me, I
Yeah.
was never any good at that. Anyway, I get a phone call from him, and I hadn't talked to him in 20 years. He said, "Hey, we want you to come to Texas and computerize this stuff." Because he was the headhunter that got me my job in Oklahoma. So he knew I was a
Okay.
computer guy.
Okay. Okay. So that's how you got the job in Houston.
So he
Okay.
calls me, and so I go down there to Houston, and I'm going for 5 months, and it was tough on me and my family. I had young kids. I think my wife, maybe we had a relatively new baby. I don't remember the exact timing. Anyway, so I'm going down there and doing this stuff, and then I have to explain to them what they're doing. You can't do this. Because
okay.
they were going to try to support candidates out of the nonprofit.
Ooh. Okay.
And they didn't realize they couldn't do it. Now,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
structures you can do that with now, but they couldn't do it with the structure we had.
Not a true nonprofit. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but they had billionaire backing and stuff like that. And David, as a footnote, he's gone around the nation for years. He was doing it then. He organizes events. He takes pastors by the plane loads to Auschwitz, to Israel.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he'll take one political candidate with him to tell them the importance of getting their church members out to vote.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so he raises millions of dollars to do that stuff, has events. From everything I saw, President Trump gives him credit for winning Ohio in 2016.
Oh, wow. Really? Okay.
So anyway, so I'm down there and working for them, but I know it's coming to an end, but I got no other employment. And I go to lunch I have to add, my father had been suffering, he had Parkinson's, and he was starting to have real memory issues. And so I'm in Houston on a Thursday, and Wednesday. And I go to lunch, and I come back, and there's a note on my computer monitor that says, Mike, we don't need you back next week.
Oh, ouch.
Well, it's kind of a
Yeah.
rough way to lose your only employment.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, whatever God's got in store, we're going to find out.
Right, yeah.
And some people could have been bitter, and I could have just left then, packed my clothes, and gone home. But I thought, there was only 5 people that were part of the real group, and 2 ladies that were assistants that did all this stuff. And I'm going, I can't leave them. They got a mess. I fix their stuff every week. So I worked through the night getting all the loose ends tied up. Forget the big stuff.
Right.
Get all the loose ends tied up that I can get tied up. I went to bed about 5 o'clock. And about 5:30, my phone rang. It was my dad. And
he's in Oklahoma.
He's in Oklahoma. He said, son, you got to come get me. What's the matter, Dad? They're taking me to jail.
Okay.
I said, Dad, nobody's taking you to jail. I said, yep, they're here right now. They're taking me to jail.
Okay.
I said, Dad, no, it's okay. He said, well, you got to come get me. I said, Dad, I'm in Houston. I can't come get you right now. So he just lays the phone down. He didn't hang it up. But we had, fortunately, put another phone line in the house. So I couldn't call that one back. I called my mom and said, what's going on? And she said, Dad just lost it last night. And he's been walking around the house all night long. And it's like, well, I'm driving home today. I'll be back later this afternoon. My dad went in the hospital. They changed medication for his Parkinson's/dementia. They did a very poor job of taking care of him. He got massive bed sores on both heels. Yeah. So he never got to come home again. He went to the VA center in Norman. And for the most part, within a few weeks after that, didn't really know who we were. But the point of that is, they told me, don't need to come back next week. I wouldn't have been back anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm so glad I
Yeah.
didn't throw a fit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everything happens for a reason. Only in the rearview mirror, though, typically.
In the rearview mirror, yeah. And on Sunday, I found out that the person that held that office, that knew I was going to run for it 2 years from now, when the term limit bill kicked in, was trying to secretly sneak out and get his wife in the office.
Okay, all right.
So on Monday, I filed at the Ethics Commission.
The first day of filing.
Well, no, it was at the Ethics Commission.
Oh, you hadn't got to filing date
No,
yet.
it was
It's
months off.
SO1 or whatever.
But this person had been at my house for his family had spent New Year's Eves at my house.
Okay.
He knew I was running for office when he left.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to sneak out, slither out.
Democrat?
Same person that asked me to computerize a list earlier, whose name I won't mention.
But it's a Democrat.
No, Republican.
Oh, Republican. Oh, that's right. You said Republican.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Huh. So you went down and filed your SO1
My
or what?
SO1 and started knocking doors as quick as I could.
And when was this? Early in 2001?
2000. What is this now? 2000. This is 26, so it would have been an even year. 2002.
Well, yeah, but the election. Okay, yeah. So the election was in 2002.
And back then, the primaries were like in August, with the runoffs in September.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so
you did. So
this was
the
like
campaigns didn't start the year before; they started the year up.
Yeah. So I started. I think it was probably March. I started
March,
knocking
okay.
doors for
And
from then on.
filing was probably in
And I had
June
no
or
job,
July.
so
Yeah.
so I nothing better to do.
Nothing better. Your wife's probably going,
I mean, I had a few clients that
Right.
would call me for maintenance work and stuff like that, but I'm all in because I have seen Bill Clinton. I've been interviewed by Dan Burton's. He was the chairman of the U.S. House Committee on Governmental Affairs. I'd seen all this fraud and corruption. I'd been cheated on a pharmacy board contract, on an ethics commission contract.
That'll inspire. Yeah, it's. I can see those dots moving together for you. You have the pharmacy board corruption. You have the golden, what is it called?
Golden Arrow gas.
Golden Arrow that's clearly beyond corruption. It's glad you weren't on that helicopter. But anyway, so it's you can see how those. Usually, when you talk to somebody that runs for office and they're sincere about trying to make a difference, there's always some pieces to that puzzle.
Everybody has a reason, and someone just want to be a representative.
That's what I'm saying. To separate those from the wheat from the chaff,
idea.
what you do is you can find out, do they really have a reason?
Yeah.
I've had candidates point blank tell me, in fact, even in this last cycle, that they just want it to be their legacy. I've had them use that word with me, and I'm like, are you serious right now? I mean, and a part of me understands. A part of me says, okay, so you want to be on the Board of Regents, or you want to go donate money to a new wing on the hospital.
Yeah.
You want to do those things and have that as your legacy. I think they innocently don't realize how important that job is. And so they don't make a very good senator or representative because they're there as a legacy. They just want to achieve that.
Yeah, they don't want to do any work, put the work
right.
in.
Right. And listen, Mike, a part of us has to understand that because, it's the guy that builds the new school of journalism. Mm-hmm. He wants that to be his legacy. So somebody wants to be a senator or a representative. They want to be honorable for the rest of their lives. They want their kids and grandkids to be motivated by that. They don't understand, I don't think, that when you get up there, it is a sausage factory. You want serious people with a real backbone that are there for a reason. So anyway, 2002 rolls along.
Well,
if Jim can do it,
and
Mike can do it.
I got to throw in another one of my lines. I used to, when you're growing up playing sports, you called everybody by their last name.
Yeah.
Good hit, Standridge. Nice
right.
catch, Reynolds. Whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
I used to play tennis with a guy, and he'd hit a good shot, and I'd say, "Nice serve, Goodman."
Yeah.
He said to me, "My friends call me Greg. You can call me Goodman."
You can call me Goodman. That's like.
So I always call
sounds
him
like
Greg
Clark Jolly's version of colleague.
So my line is, and you introduced me, and I didn't say anything, but my friends call me Mike. You can call me representative.
You can call me representative. That I joke about this colleague thing, but it actually became an issue in the Senate at one time. And Clark Jolly, I don't know if he served as appropriation chair. No, you would. Yeah, he did.
He was responsible for massive tax credits.
That's right.
And then got to cover him up by getting appointed to the tax commission. Thank you, Mary Fallon.
So Clark Jolly and I got along great, actually. And yeah, I disagree. I want to get into the tax credits because you and I are probably on the exact same page.
Probably.
In fact, some stuff I didn't know, so I want to go there. But I enjoyed Clark a lot because Clark could be a real piece of work at times, and people didn't like that. But I would go ask Clark for help, and every now and then he would help me. Sometimes he'd hurt me. But I had an honest relationship with him, which with some politicians that's hard to have because they lie so much. And I'm not saying Clark didn't lie. I'm not going to accuse him or say he did or didn't. But I enjoy relationships with people that have a backbone, and even when I disagree with them, they don't mind telling me what they think because I sure as hell do. And so I found that with Clark. I found that with Mike Mazie. I became good friends with Mike Mazie because when I first came in, Mike was very tough with me. He had recovered from an accident, and I really, to this day, I love that about Mike Mazie. I think he's a tough guy and he's an honest guy. This is not a promo for governor. I just happen to mention people I serve with, but I like that about. So this guy. So did they do the switcheroo on you? Did you run against his wife, or did you run against him?
Well, it was interesting. Again, it was very providential because I get back in town. I didn't know he'd done that yet. He was doing that. On Sunday afternoon, my friend Jack Dake, who'd been the Cleveland County Party chairman, called me up and he said, "Hey, Mike, we got to talk." It's like, "Okay, what?" He goes, "Dan Webb came over to me today, and he told me that Denise," now the name's out there, He told me that Denise.
Nobody's going to put that together.
That's right.
They can't. They can't connect those too many dots. Those dots are too far apart.
Denise is going to run for his seat.
Okay.
And they've asked for my endorsement. And I said, Dan, Mike has spent 8 years waiting for you. You knew when you left. He never challenged you. You knew when he left he was running for your office. I absolutely will not support your wife. I'm supporting Mike.
Well, good for Jack.
And we were friends. We played tennis together. We played volleyball together, whatever.
Did you beat him, though? Maybe you beat him too many times.
Well, no, I'm talking about Dan and I were. Jack and I were.
Oh, Jack. I thought you were talking about Dan. Okay.
So Dan was a dope to even think Jack would assist him. So I found out that Gary Jones was running for state auditor as Republican.
Okay.
Didn't know Gary Jones from Adam. Now, he's like a brother to me now.
Right.
Okay. I picked up the phone. I called Gary Jones, and I said, Gary, my name's Mike Reynolds. I've been doing voting lists for years, and I understand Dan Webb is going to run for state auditor. I know that you're running for state auditor. I just want to help you. He goes, you don't even know me. Why would you help me? I said, it's just self-serving. I don't want him to have 1 free second to help his wife run for office. Okay. He goes, okay, good enough for me. Yeah. And we met at Southwest 89th at Penn at the Loves. I'll never forget. And we had a good conversation, and we've been brothers ever since. Yeah. I watched Gary lose 2 elections to Jeff McMahon, who I filed the impeachment charges against, who I gave information to the FBI that sent him to prison.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing we can get into today. I did send, I think, 4 elected officials to prison by assisting the FBI with information that they didn't understand.
So this is one thing I think people suspect but don't really know. There's a lot of corruption, and 99%.
But they don't know it. You're right.
99% of it never sees the light of day. Yeah. 99, and you see, like when I touched on my former pro tems earlier, and one of them was Mike Schultz. Mike Schultz was a pro tem for 2 years. Yeah. Scandal-ridden, not for Mike, but the Senate. And what people ought to realize is that when politicians willingly leave their positions, they don't do it for no reason. So not only did we have people like Ralph Shorty and Rick Brinkley go to prison, we had about 4 or 5.
Mike Mass or Gene Stein.
Well, I'm talking about in that 2 years when I served.
Yeah.
We had about 3 or 4 or 5 other senators that left voluntarily.
Yeah.
I think there should be rules requiring that if they leave, they ought to tell us why, because it was all hidden. And it's like, and now they're out there lobbying and all this stuff, but they're scurrilous, bad characters. Yeah. And so I don't understand why it's such an effort to hide the corruption when you should let it see the light of day, so that you that way you get less corrupt people in there, maybe. Because if they think they might get in trouble, maybe they'll stay home and just steal from the bank they work for or something.
Yeah.
and not from the taxpayers.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to your story with Dan Webb. He's running for state auditor against your new friend Gary Jones.
Yeah, my new best friend.
Of convenience, your friend of convenience. So and then his wife Denise is now running for the seat, and you're running against her.
It's going to happen in Congress pretty soon.
Where they try to sneak out and get somebody
Tom Cole, yeah.
Oh, and file somebody at the last minute. Oh, at the last minute? Yeah, maybe so. We'll see. TW would have to, I guess he'll win the lieutenant governor if he wins that. Yeah. Okay, so we're back to you. So the Denise Webb, the campaign's going along, and so it's a primary, not a general. So
and it was a 5-way primary when he finally decided.
Oh, wow. So the secret's out, and so now 3 other people filed.
Yeah.
Anybody I would know?
I don't even remember.
Oh, don't remember? Okay, yeah.
I just because I knew it was me and her, because I'm knocking doors tirelessly, and she's knocking some doors too. I'll give her credit for that. And so
at least putting signs out.
Well, and like I said, I don't know what it was, 41 to 32, and then the other 30% went to the others, and then we go to the runoff, and it was a very nasty runoff.
So you end up winning, and so do you have a general opponent or no? Probably not.
I don't know.
Okay, probably not. Not in that seat.
A general opponent never mattered in
that seat.
My district. I'm a data guy. I went and.
Well, Ben Brown thought it didn't matter in his district.
Right, but I'm just saying in my district it didn't matter, and my district one year I had like 73%, as I recall, it was like 73% Republican turnout in the primary.
Wow.
People say you don't vote. We had like 4 candidates for sheriff,
Yeah.
all this stuff, and in my precinct, it was like higher turnout than any other precinct in Oklahoma.
So that is a pet peeve I have, though. I think Republicans, and I've talked to grassroots people here in Cleveland County, and my suggestion is always the same. The Democrat machine, when it comes to like special elections, city things like that, where you have low turnout, they are faithful. They vote. There's not as many of them.
Right.
I mean, maybe in a city like we had 14,000 vote in the recent city elections in Norman, and it won in the whatever the measures.
A bond
were.
election will be 2% of the voters.
Yeah, so it won by 50-some%, and that's essentially about 8,000 to 10,000 people stayed home.
Yeah, which means it lost by 95%.
Yeah, it would have lost. It would have lost by. It would have went down at 65-70% easily. But so somehow we have got to start building a better machine for Republicans, both for vetting candidates, but also for just alerts. I mean, they should just get an alert and maybe we write an app for it where they get an alert, everybody gets enrolled in it, and they have to agree, and they don't get any propaganda, no emails, nothing, until it's time for them to take action.
Yeah.
And then they say, go vote. You have to push a yes, I did vote, yes, leave me the heck alone. Once they do that, the database says, yes, this person voted. Yeah. Boom. And you check them afterwards, and you scold the people that said yes and didn't actually vote. But you can build a system like that where we can activate our people, because and I say our people, I mean the hardworking conservatives, Republicans, and some independents that are actually out there working their butts off. They don't have time to vote on April 22nd. When there's never been a vote on that day in their lives, they don't think.
Right.
And so we got to get a better machine so we can help our people vote.
Well, and I haven't, I mean, he's been deceased for some time, but I want to go back and mention a guy that was a mentor for me in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
In my district, Al Snipes.
I don't know. I don't think I know Al.
I think we have a dinner every year in honor of Al Snipes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That.
Al Snipes was Mr. Oklahoma Republican.
Okay.
What a wonderful man. What a kind man. So Al had wanted me to run for years. I'd known him back from I didn't know him personally. My father knew him from Little League baseball leagues and things like that. And Al had 4,000 dues-paying members of the Oklahoma County Republican Party Men's Club in the 1950s.
Oh my gosh!
So
see, that's what we need.
Oh, we need people like that. Because I am not an organizer like that, but Al was responsible for the election that took out Marvin York, blindsided him when he was pro tem of the Senate, and was it J.D. McCarty was also. They were both Southsiders in Al's district. And he ran stealth campaigns with good candidates. Vondel Smith ran against one of them and beat one of them. They had no clue it was coming.
Wow. Okay.
So Al was always very encouraging to me, and I'm, as I understand it, I'm the only person that, other than the first, Mickey Edwards became the first Republican congressman in Oklahoma elected in a long time, maybe ever, I don't know. And Al Snipes was, I think, behind that campaign. Mickey Edwards didn't turn out too well in the long run, but at least it got Oklahoma going. And other than Mickey Edwards, I think I'm the only person that Al ever let be his campaign chairman.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he did it for 6 of my campaigns.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
that's pretty cool.
It was because in South Oklahoma City back then, when I was in office, people knew who Al Snipes was.
Yeah.
So that was great. Gary Jones and I met. Let's go back there. Gary Jones and I met. We became good friends, and then we found out that they were laundering money, illegal campaign contributions. It was stupid. They should have just changed the law like the leaders of the House and Senate have done, where they can gather all this money and give it to whoever will vote for them for speaker or pro tem.
That's what they do. Yeah.
That's what they do.
It should not be allowed.
And it was illegal. It used to be illegal. And in fact, I got a rule passed at the Ethics Commission that said you couldn't transfer money between PACs. It was the first state in the nation for an ethics commission to pass that rule, but then Glenn Coffey got it changed the next year, and then they made it even worse. Now you can do it from your campaign account.
That's correct. Yeah.
It is insanity because they're just buying votes for the speaker and the pro tem.
That's right. That's right.
And that is ruined the legislative process in
it's
Oklahoma.
very much damaged. It's at the level of corruption now, where
we're trying to pass Louisiana.
I mean, when I ran for pro tem, I think I would guess about $500,000. I know a few senators got like $30,000 to $50,000. Yeah. And I think what they don't understand is if whoever is in power has access to the purse. Mm-hmm. So no matter who they vote for, whoever, I tried to convince them of this, obviously I failed, but whoever wins, then you can fundraise on your own if they'll let the leash off and just go let you use your chairmanship or whatever to go raise money. Instead, they've locked it down. So if you get the right leader, like we had for a long time, they can just open the door and say, listen, let's don't swallow all the money for leadership. But that's become a big problem for Oklahoma. And maybe good leaders will get elected anyway, but so it's not, I'm not saying that to condemn leaders, although I think the Senate suffers from bad leadership. But I mean, I think it's a system built for corruption.
Absolutely.
I think even if you get a good leader into that system, you're getting them almost by accident, because these young senators, I don't mean in age, but in time, I mean, they've just spent a bunch of money. A lot of them loan money to their campaigns, so they're easily manipulated sometimes.
Yeah, anyway. I agree, and it's laughable for Charles McCall to talk about the things that he talks about. He ruined the House of Representatives. He bought the longest-serving Speaker of the House. Well, fly people all over the country and buy them steak dinners, and they'll probably vote for you.
So and I've had candidates tell me in the past, and I stick to this. And sadly, maybe it's not the best philosophy, but it's the right one. But not sure if you can't take money or steak dinner and vote no, you have no business being in the legislature. Sadly, there's a lot of people that are easily bought off with something as simple as steak. And you got to realize the money's not even going to them. Yeah. This is what's weird. I mean, I'm a business person, been blessed with some success. I mean, to me, I don't value money going over to an account over here. Not that you could bribe me directly either, but I'm just saying, it's not even their money. Yeah. 50,000. Oh, I got 50,000. Well, you didn't. Your campaign did. And if you would have gone with a different leader, you probably might have got a chairmanship. You can use that to leverage your money yourself and not be. Anyway. So go back to we know you won. You 12 great years in the House. So I was only there with you a couple of years. And I admired your work there. I don't know. We talked about this off camera a little bit, but everybody talks about the time you spent there as being, I don't know if you were a younger guy, so maybe cantankerous isn't the right word, but a little bit obstinate. You would push back against things.
Younger than who?
Huh?
Younger than who?
No, younger. I mean, you were younger than you are now, but cantankerous may not be the right word because maybe that doesn't apply. But anyway, so when I looked at that, we talked a little bit before, and we've talked about this before, but my guess was it's about the budget, it's about spending, and you corrected me and said, Rob, it's about
leadership. It's about every member having, they went out, just give you an example. In one campaign, they said Mike Reynolds brags that he voted with the Democrats more than any other member. That was such a lie. I'd never bragged that, so I went and pulled the numbers because I'm a data. I used to have a website that counted every vote. In 2008, we voted about 1,600 times. I voted no 523 times. My desk mate, Mike Ritz, voted no 521 times. Third place was 73.
Oh, yeah.
Those votes were against the Democrats, too.
Right.
The Speaker of the House voted with the Democrats a lot more than I did.
Tax credits. I call it corporate welfare.
Yeah.
In fact, the guy that sat, we didn't have necessarily seatmates in the Senate, but the guy that sat next to me in my last few years, Senator David Bullard, David always found it humorous at my expense, but he would always say, Rob, one of these days I'm going to run a bill that's the Standridge return or ROI bill, return on investment, because every time one of these guys would stand up and push for some tax credit, some incentive, they always use this term, which I use in business all the time, return on investment, because when you take your money and you put in Charles Schwab, or you go buy a business, or you go buy a property, you want to make sure your return is good.
Yeah.
I think it's complete BS to say, I'm going to take Mike Reynolds, $10 million tax money, him and the other citizens, and I'm going to take that and turn it into probably $2 million is actually what they're going to turn it into. They're probably going to blow $8 million. And only the government considers an ROI where they lose a ton of taxpayer money and they gain $2 million, or they pay $2 million for every job is a more likely thing. Yeah. But I know you battled against that, and so share some of your thoughts on, did you understand that before you got in, or was it like me and the light went off when you started seeing all this corporate welfare come across your desk?
I'm always questioning how we do something. When I went up there, they said that a person in the legislature couldn't take a job with the state till 2 years after they've left office.
Right.
Thank you, Adam Pugh.
Right.
And so then I'd see people get jobs. I saw Kevin Easley get the Grand River Dam Authority. I saw Dan Sullivan get the Grand River Dam Authority. No way they're eligible for those jobs. And Sullivan's making $500,000 a year or something like that now. He's not fit for office, and yet, anyway. So you'd hear people tell you stuff, and then it's like, that can't be. And I'd start looking, and it's like, that's not true at all. Or it is true, and they're ignoring it. Like the Constitution says you can't give money to a person or individual. So
right.
we don't call it giving them money when they get a tax credit.
Right.
That's
but
all it is. It is just a gift of money.
It's all it is, yes.
That's all it is. And we've got a pathetic Supreme Court in the state of Oklahoma. We've got to have a way to get rid of them. Unfortunately, we'll have people that believe in economic development, like our governor. He wants the economic development of the state. He should want the economic development of the citizens. Of the citizens,
that's
of the
right.
state.
Right.
And so he promotes it, and the same company. So I became activated early and challenging things. And someone sent information, I don't remember who it was, was it the Hornets, was the basketball team that Chris Paul was on when they had the hurricane and they came to Oklahoma City? Yeah. Anyway, their team came to Oklahoma City. And there was a press release that said that the legislature had approved funding to bring them to Oklahoma City. And it's like...
The quality jobs. They adjusted the quality jobs.
No. And so it's like, okay, the legislature approved money. We haven't been in session since the hurricane. How did we approve money? I would have been there and voted on it. So I wasn't saying it was a good thing or a bad thing, but I knew that we hadn't approved any money. So I started doing some research, and it was very hard to find. And then finally, someone at Oklahoma City, I had a good friend, I don't think he's the one that gave it to me, but I had a good friend that challenged so many issues for the taxpayers, Jerry Fent.
Yeah.
He was a hero in Oklahoma. He passed away a couple years ago. He was my hero. He defended the Constitution. And anyway, I got this letter, and it was signed by, I think, Mike Morgan, Brad Henry, and Chris Bench, authorizing an agency that I'd never heard of called the Oklahoma Capital Investment Board to advance them millions of dollars to help them come to Oklahoma City. And I started looking, what is the Capital Investment Board? And you've probably never heard of it.
No, it doesn't ring a bell, no.
So it's
but I was only there 12 years.
Yeah. So at that time, it was the last agency listed in the agency book in Oklahoma. It took me a long time to track him down. There was a guy that had worked for the Department of Commerce, and he went out and got legislation passed that said this group could give investment money to entities, as I recall, the best I recall, give investment money to these entities. And the way they got their money is they'd go to the bank and they could get their loan. They would take a loan and it would be guaranteed by tax credits.
Oh, okay. Guaranteed by tax credits. Okay.
Guaranteed, but you don't have
so
to.
you borrow against a future tax credit.
You borrow $50 million, and if the loan's not repaid, we'll take tax credits.
So it's like a payday loan, kind of.
No, it was like a scam. It was like what do you call it? A pyramid.
Money going back like this. Yeah.
Well, no,
So did they get the tax credit?
No, they never sold them. But the banks were happy to loan the money because they were getting their principal and interest, and they knew it was guaranteed. So they're loaning all this money.
I'm sorry, let me go back just a second. So it's guaranteed by tax credit, but hasn't been awarded yet.
That's correct.
So how would they be guaranteed their money? Like
the bank had an agreement with the Capital Investment Board. You'll pay them back, and the tax
even though they don't actually get a tax credit, they'll pay them back.
Yeah, it was insanity.
That's crazy. Okay.
And so I worked with the FBI on that.
Okay.
And those people were investigated, and they should be in prison as far as I'm concerned. And so finally, it's like, how do I get to this? And the state CAFR, Consolidated Annual Financial Report, came out, and it has the Capital Investment Board. It had nothing there. And I knew they had like $50 million in liabilities and outstanding loans that they'd given to things like the basketball team and other things that Brad Henry and these other people had signed off on. And so I went to... I've had a few connections in my life and a lot of providential connections. One of my good friends was the second in charge of the state auditor's department under Clifton Scott, and he didn't like it.
Okay, good.
So I found out about it, and I asked him, and I forced them to restate the CAF report to include $50 million of contingent tax credits. They were contingent on the loan failing, but they might as well have been exercised.
Yeah.
And so then we found out they were going around to other states in the nation doing the same thing. They'd done it in Louisiana. They'd done it in Indiana. There was legislation in Hawaii and Montana pending by the same guy in Oklahoma that organized this deal.
Yikes. Did he ever get in trouble?
He never got convicted.
Oh, okay.
Should have. But I worked with the FBI for 3 years on it. So I found out about tax credits there. And I start looking at them. And once I find out, we had the situation come along for electric cars.
Oh,
and the tax credit.
Okay, yeah.
And so...
I missed that one. Doggone it.
And so basically people would get 100% tax credit if they...
A free car.
Free car.
Free electric car.
Up to $12,000. It wasn't like Teslas and stuff.
Right.
It was maxed out at $12,000.
Yeah, I remember. I think I told you this earlier. I remember that because I was at Benchmark Mercedes one day, and they had this really fancy golf cart on the showroom floor, and I asked them about it, and they said, yeah, there's a tax credit available. You can get that, and so I thought about it, but then by the time I went to, because I didn't believe that it was free, because who would believe that the government is that stupid? But they are. But they are. So by the time I checked into it, something had changed.
The lawsuit had probably been filed.
Right.
We could go a long way.
And doggone it, I missed my free golf cart. Because since then, I bought a golf cart, and those things aren't cheap.
No.
So, yeah.
Especially those $12,000.
The one at Benchmark was right at, if I remember right, it was right at that price, I think.
Exactly.
They probably a little bit more because of Mercedes. You're probably willing to pay them a little bit.
Yeah, well, you didn't mind. Yeah, if you're getting it for $1,000 for a $12,000 golf cart, I might as well look better than everybody else.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was a gentleman in the tax commission that was very offended because he'd applied for the credit, and then the tax commission filed a lawsuit because they realized the state was going to hemorrhage 50. I did a press release telling everybody to go get their free cars. Okay,
so what year was this? Because this was before I got in the legislature.
What year is it now?
Yeah, I think this was before I got in. I think this is 08.
I think around 08.
Okay. Yeah. And so it's like the Obama phones, right?
Yeah.
It's like the Obama. It was like the Obama golf carts, right?
There you go.
So you are in office. You find out that the government's as stupid as you know that they are. Yeah. They are. When it comes to money, the government is I always tell people, it is the worst investment that you can ever make. Period. So you should give them the least amount of money as possible.
That's the fact.
So you saw that the government, its infinite wisdom, said, let's let everybody have a free golf cart.
Yeah.
And because they get exercise, right? Playing golf. So anyway, so you sent out a press release.
I sent out a press release.
What did the press release say?
Basically, it said, everybody in Oklahoma, go get your free golf cart because they're free.
It's on me.
Yeah.
It's on me.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
These idiots at the legislature voted for it. I debated against it, but if I remember a reporter calling me saying, Reynolds, you voted for, what do you think about your friend getting this tax credit and this other deal? And I told him, I said, look, if the legislature is so stupid to pass a tax credit for everybody that wears pink tennis shoes, I'll probably go buy pink tennis shoes because why should everybody else take advantage of it anyway?
Listen, if I would have caught it in time, I would have had a free golf cart. I just missed and I would not have felt a bit of remorse. Not a bit. I would have said, these morons gave me $12,000.
Yeah.
I'm going to take it.
And
these basketball teams you talk about, they're smart. I mean, the ones that's running it, I won't speak for the players. Well, they're smart too. But, I mean, they're not idiots. No. They'll take these morons free money every day of the week. That's why all these universities now are coming to the Capitol. That didn't happen my first few years. Yeah. David Boren, as much as we might have disliked him or disagree with him on some stuff, he was a fundraising machine. He went out and got his own money for his buildings.
Well, we can talk about that in a minute.
Well, I know, but today they know where the easy money is. These presidents, universities just go to the Capitol and say, "Hey, give me 50. I just need $50 million, Mike. That's nothing. Chicken feed for you guys."
Yeah. Well, and so I did the press release. Right. Everybody's buying the golf carts.
Everybody's got red,
they're
white,
out,
blue.
So you're having to put a $2,000 deposit for it to be shipped to you in the whenever they get them in,
because they ran out of stock, right?
Yeah, they're out of stock immediately. And so when that happens, the legislature realizes this is going to cost the state hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever. And so they file a lawsuit saying these certain category of golf carts are not
street legal.
Not valid, street legal. Yeah, I think that's what the deal, street legal. Well, they were. Everybody knew they were, but it killed the market. And so everybody that put $2,000 deposits in now think, I'm not getting my deal. They're going back and asking for canceling their orders. And so now all these golf cart companies are going out of business because they've got this product coming in that they're never going to sell.
Right.
So it destroyed a bunch of them.
Because they had already ordered the golf cart.
Yeah, they'd ordered them. They'd gotten $2,000 deposits for them. Right. This is gravy. Right. This is great. It was insanity. So ultimately the court ruled they were street legal, but then by then the legislature had come back into section the next year and gotten rid of that extra 50% that they had given the previous year. Yeah. It's insane, and that's the kind of boneheads. So anyway, I have this guy in the tax commission that lost his golf cart, and he starts leaking me information. Yeah. And so then I'm really finding out about tax credits. Like,
to be clear, that's not Clark Jolly.
Well, I wish it were. I'd turn him in. But he knew about it. You can bet Clark Jolly
he wasn't in
knew
there,
about it.
He wasn't in there by that time.
He was the chairman of the Appropriations Committee.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, and gosh, his wife is out selling contracts to schools for internet service.
So you think he got a golf cart?
I don't know.
All right, so tax
then I started
credits,
learning all about tax credits.
Right.
We had a program where they'd give you a 30% tax credit if you got this convoluted thing, and you didn't have to put any money up to get you could say, I invested $100 million in this outfit, and you could get a $30 million tax credit and not even have any money at risk. Those kind of things were going on.
Didn't you tell me that in order to qualify for the tax credit, all you had was essentially a letter of credit from your bank? On
this one, I checked on Altus Venture Capital Fund, I think was the name of it. And they had 5 LLCs, Altus Venture Capital Fund 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'd been trying to get information about them, but First State Bank Altus, I believe it was, their president got in trouble with the FBI, got convicted, and the bank went belly up. So their paperwork and stuff got bought out by a bank in Amarillo, and I contacted that bank, and the owner of that bank had no problem giving me the information. And he told me that the $571 million worth of loan commitments were guaranteed. There were 5 of them. Each were guaranteed by $1 loan. So it would make it a contract.
Good collateral.
Yeah. So you put up $5 and you get 30% of $570 million in tax credits.
So did anybody go to jail over that? Because
no,
really? Okay.
Oh, and the legislature just covered that kind of stuff up.
So did anything get done?
Wait,
Were any jobs
the president
created?
of that bank went to jail,
but not for that.
But it wasn't for that. It was for a deal he got involved in Colorado that allowed that to be uncovered.
So $200 million in essence was given out, cash money, was there good ROI on that? What was done with that money?
And I think this is the same program. I think this was the same program that there was a clawback. But if the deal had been in place for 5 years, they actually tried to cancel there was at least one big tax credit deal I found that they filed for bankruptcy, and they realized it was before the 5 years was up. The state was going to claw back the tax credits.
Right.
So they withdrew the bankruptcy and refiled it the day after the 5-year statute of limitations. That's the kind of trash.
Oh my gosh.
And if our appropriation chairman, our revenue tax chairman don't know about that stuff, then they don't belong. They don't deserve to be the committee chairman. If they do know about it, they deserve to go to jail.
I think the problem we have, I hate to go back, I'm not blaming voters,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying that I think voters, it's kind of like when they vote for a bond. I know, Senator Sacchieri had a bill last year that would, on a bond vote for the city or county or whatever, that she would just include language that says, this will increase your property tax.
Yeah.
I think voters are so busy that they again, it's that education thing that we do such a horrible job, maybe because our country has grown so big in such a short amount of time, that people just, I don't think, understand that money does not grow on trees. And when you give it to the government, they waste it and bloat it and use it for things that you would never. In fact, Senator Standridge was telling me about a program, like this year, they are, in my opinion, they are bloating the budget just enough so they can avoid an income tax trigger, because this pathway to eliminating the income tax will never work.
Right.
Because the legislature is going to spend every year, as long as it's under moderate control, of just bloating the budget enough so that next year you avoid the trigger. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did this year. I guarantee you, they did their math and figured out if we do a 1.3% or 2% increase, we'll avoid an income tax trigger next year. And one of the programs in this thing was, it's a deal. I think it's named after Dolly Parton or something like that. It's essentially $5 or $10 million of books to give to kids. And you're like, oh, well, Mike Reynolds, he's such a soft-hearted guy. He's going to give books to kids. It's not even income-based. So even if you're a liberal, soft-hearted person that wants to give everything to everybody, it's not even to income-compromised children. It's to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody buying my kids a book. Yeah. I'll buy my kids their own dang book. I don't need a free book in the mail. Yeah. I definitely don't need Mike Reynolds and the other 3 million taxpayers funding a book for my kid.
For sure.
And so these are the programs that they're funding to just give books away and to create. They're creating partnerships with pharmaceutical companies to create drugs. Isn't that the private sector? I mean, it's borderline socialism, fascism, whatever you want to call it.
Well, no, it's outright socialism.
Well, it is unbelievable the lengths at which they'll do. And I think this year they're doing it to grow.
And this research center and all of the junk. I heard somebody the other day say we've got to incentivize they didn't say professors, that's what they are, to invent more stuff. So we're going to give them, we let them use the state dollar to invent something, and then they get the profits off of it.
Oh, nice.
It's
the university does.
Well,
probably.
and the research triangle up on Lincoln. All that stuff. I went in and started checking their books. I've spent hundreds, thousands of hours looking at that stuff. It's insane what they do. And
it is the worst place you can ever purchase. I mean, the government has to have money. Yeah. There's certain things that the government must do: roads and bridges, defense, public safety. I agree with all of that. And we're bound to education because we've gone down that road and you can't go back. So there's some things that you got to do. But frugality, I'll promise you, is not in the equation for most of these people. They have no life experience in their home where they had to really be frugal, where they had a payroll and these things. So with that in mind, I'd like to jump to more modern day.
Okay.
So, because we got to talk for a few minutes or sometime about some really great things that are going on now, hopefully. But we want to keep in mind what the budget's like, because I have some questions for you on your current tasks or your current projects. And so let's keep in mind about the worst investments you can ever make. So what is it now? So you served 12 years in the House. I guess before you jump out of there, give me one or two or three things that are most memorable for you in your time in the House.
Okay. Well, one that's most memorable is making, it's actually two, but the same person, making David Boren yell "Caffro, give up."
Okay.
As a freshman, Boren tried to implement a policy, and the regents, I think, voted on it, that said all freshmen had to live on campus.
Okay.
I have a friend whose daughter wanted to go to OU. She turned down a full scholarship to Kansas right when they were implementing that. And so they live 10 miles from campus, and now they're going to have to incur another $8,000 a year rent at a dormitory on campus because Boren had overbuilt all these dorms, and he needed the freshmen
To pay the bill.
to pay the bond debt,
Right.
which was insane.
Yeah.
And so he implemented that policy, and I'll never forget, I didn't like it, and my friend told me about his daughter, I didn't like it. And then the Daily Oklahoman one day ran a front page picture of this little lady, grandma, standing out in front of Boren's campus house protesting that policy because she had a granddaughter that didn't want to live on campus. And it's like, you know what, I'm going to help her out. So I started going after that policy. And why should freshmen have to live on campus? Here's people. I had 3 pastors that lived within 3 blocks of the campus. Their daughters were going to have to live a quarter of a mile from the campus in a dormitory and couldn't live at home. Well, they could stay there, but they were going to have to pay rent on a room.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was insane. So these pastors get with me, and so I'm wearing him out. And he can't defend himself now. Wish he could, because he wouldn't be able to.
Right.
So I'm wearing him out, and I'm a second-year representative. You don't get much stroke there.
That's
in
correct.
the minority party too at that time. So anyway, I'm wearing him out on the radio. I get some TV interviews, whatever, a lot of press. And so, David Boren never got up early enough in the morning to be on a talk show at 7 o'clock in the morning. He'd start showing up I don't know what Flashpoint, whatever.
Right.
It's like he's getting blowback. So finally, I'll never forget, we're headed to vacation in Colorado, and we're in the Texas Panhandle, and I get a phone call. Is this Representative Reynolds? Yeah. This is, I don't remember her name, President Boren's executive assistant or whatever. And he'd like to schedule a time to visit with you. It's like, I'm looking at my wife going, okay. And he'd like to schedule some time to visit with you. And it's like, okay, well, that'd be fine with me. Well, can you come down to his office tomorrow? And I said, well, no, actually, I'm on the way to Colorado. I won't be back. We'll be back next Thursday. Well, could you come down on Friday? I said, no, but he can come to my office on Friday. She said, well, let me see if that'll work. So it did.
Yeah.
So I called my brother, kind of gloating. And there was a big legislative event in Dallas, I even remember, on that Friday that all the legislators were going to. But it's like, no, I'm going to talk to David Boren. And my brother said, listen, I just tell you, I've only been here 3 years now. You don't ever visit with somebody like that without having someone else present to verify what was said.
That's not a bad idea, yeah.
And I took that to heart for every meeting I ever had.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, will you be there? And he goes, yeah. So we go in. Now, I had already talked to I think it was Liberty Institute, because we found out that Boren was making exemption for Muslim students.
Okay.
And so they said, if you exempt one
Anyway.
faith-based group, you have to exempt all of them.
That's right.
And so they were already ready to file a lawsuit. We were prepping
He's
it up.
exempting them from the on-campus requirement.
Yeah, from living in the dorms.
Wow.
But
okay.
not little Baptist girls or
Right.
Methodist or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And so Boren shows up in my office, and he gives me this spiel for about 15 minutes, all this junk I'd been seeing in the press, how this is really important for the full life experience.
That's right, yeah.
And blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah, so we can tear down the morals of your children.
That's right.
So anyway, he said, but we're going to reverse that policy. And I'm going, oh, darn darn it, we were ready to file a lawsuit. So maybe
He must have found out about that.
He had to back off.
Yeah.
To this day, it's in the freshman handbook, and they still believe they have to live on campus. Tell them all, you do not.
Yeah. No,
I could not. I spent
so my
10
daughter
years trying to make them take it out.
Yeah, my daughter told when she first applied to OU, she said, "Yeah, but I can get because we live in Norman, she can get out of it." So it's in there, but they were told she was told it because she lives. So I think for other freshmen,
they don't know
if they don't live in Norman, so they could live in Moore.
No, they can get out of it. They just don't know to challenge.
They just don't know to challenge because it's pretty clear.
Because it's in the book that you're supposed to. So that was interesting, and I remember I drove down to Dallas that night to the deal, and I got there kind of late, and I went in, and it was who was the senator from Nichols Hills?
Cliff Brannon.
Cliff Brannon.
Yeah.
So Cliff, well, hey Mike, you
Cliff Brannon. Yeah.
he said you're getting here kind of late. Where you been? And I said, well, I've had a meeting with President Bourne, and said, oh, what about or whatever? And I said, yeah, he came to my office, and he said, David Bourne came to your office? I'll never forget that. So that was fun, but part two is I was only a committee chairman one time. And that's all right with me, but when we took over, 2 years after my first election, the Republicans got a majority in the House of Representatives, and there were, as I think this is accurate, there were 26 senior Republican members.
Okay.
Everybody else was a freshman because the term limits thing kicked in.
Right.
And anyway, so everybody could get a floor leader, committee chairmanship, and they assigned them all, and they had one left to give to me. And at that point, I hadn't been that confrontational, but I guess they knew I might be.
Right.
So they called and told me that I was going to get the chairmanship of the retirement committee.
Okay.
And I said, great, I don't want it. It's like, well, no, we've already got all this thing planned out. We need you to take it. Well, I don't care. I'm not taking it. Well, what's it going to take for you to take it? It's like, I don't want it. And nobody contributes to the retirement chairman. They ask for money, and it's more work, and it's not an area I've got any sort of expertise in. I don't want it. So they already had all the other 25 assignments done. They were going to have to double up on somebody or whatever. So Speaker Hyatt said, well, what will it take? And I said, I don't want it, but if you want me to take it, put me on the Energy Committee, put me on whatever, and you know why. And I'll just say here on the record, because some committees you can actually raise money in.
That's correct.
And others you can't.
That is absolutely correct.
And so it's like, if you're going to bury me over here, I've got to have some place I can raise money, so you put me on the Energy Committee. So they did. And I served 2 years, but then after those 2 years, they decided it wasn't worth it for me to be on anything. So I did uncover the scandal, as far as I'm concerned, about elected officials getting 4% in their retirement pay as opposed to every other employee of the state getting 2%.
Oh, I didn't know
the
that.
2% multiplier. And so I spent years trying to get that passed. Gene Stipe, for example, his retirement was 204% of his base pay in the legislature.
Really?
Drew Edmondson, 200+% of his base pay, because he'd served for 50 years, not 50, whatever it was. Anyway, he'd served enough years. Yeah, Stipe had been there 53 years. So 4% times 53 years.
53 years?
Yeah. When the FBI convicted Stipe, he was the longest serving legislator in the United States.
But 53 years.
Clifton Scott.
Only Joe Biden served longer in the government.
Clifton Scott almost had served that many years, and when he retired, the idiots in the legislature passed a law that said in fact, I saw a bill today that we'll talk about, that said that Clifton Scott could come back and be the head of the School Land Commission, draw full salary while he was drawing full retirement, which was 204% of his pay as the state auditor. It was insanity. That's what they do. And I just saw something today about retirement benefits that went all over me.
They're trying. The legislature keeps trying to both increase their benefits and go back to. They're trying.
Yeah, but it was even dumber than that.
They're increasing their pay. I mean, it's going the wrong direction.
Oh gosh.
I mean, it should be a servant's position.
I protested. I went down and recently, I'm going to go back to David Bourne, my second greatest accomplishment. But the legislature, for the leadership to cover themselves for a pay raise, they shifted it to a board.
That's
We're
right.
going to give it to this board so that we don't control our own pay. No, you're going to shift it to a board so you can appoint the board members, and they can give you a massive pay increase, and you can blame it on them.
That's right. Yeah.
And I went, and I was the only. Now there was another gentleman that spoke against it, but I said, "How much of the pay increases are going to be?" And it's like, well, you have. I said, I've got an agenda here. I guess I'm dumb, but I see an agenda, and it doesn't say how much the increases are going to be. And is it on some other document, some attachment? No. I go, well, how would anybody argue that these are out of control pay raises when we don't even know what they are? And you guys are going to vote on it. This is insane.
Surely you know what they are.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do.
So it was insane. So that's the legislature does all kinds of things, Paxton, Hilbert, to cover themselves, and they should be covered with spew instead of glory. It's insane.
Yeah, it's not right now. It is not good. I'm very disappointed. I'll put it that way. I try. I'm a very silver lining kind of guy, very optimistic, because I think it's served me well in the private sector, but. Yeah. I'm very disappointed. I had hopes that, at least in the Senate side, that this year would be different. With McCourtney getting kicked out because I did not care for him.
Who's the other one from? The woman from
Jessica Garvin. Yeah.
No, that Kendall.
That's Jessica Garvin. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had hopes, not necessarily just because of those 2 or 3 that got
just the waves.
Just the way I thought maybe that might cause Lonnie to realize to treat people. I mean, the only thing, the odd, sad part of all of that is, I don't know the House, I don't even know Hilbert, so I don't want to talk about that. But the sad part about that is that all they would have to do is treat people decently. I mean, treat people
just bring up my bill and then vote it down.
You don't even have to. It's not even that complicated. You don't even have to bring up bills. You don't. Yeah. They intentionally treat people horribly, and I don't understand that. I've never once understood. These are, and I can't speak of people's faith, but from what I've seen, I mean, like Lisa's a very strong Christian, a strong person of faith. Kendall, I think, is. Julie McIntosh. A lot of these, and I don't want to go through and list them all because there's a lot of great people. These are really good people, very accomplished people.
They don't need the money.
They don't need the money. They're there. They're accomplished. They don't have their hand out, but they're not going to be hooked with a leash, or you're not going to leash them. Yeah. And so, because they're senators for a reason, because they're driven to do that. They're driven to do what they think is right. All you have to do is treat them with a little decency. Yeah. And you have people like Pugh and Rosino, all those people that are just such jerks to people. Right. And it's that thimble full of power. It's like, you spent, I don't know, I don't want to speak of these people's childhood, but I'm assuming they probably were bullied, they were picked on, they never really accomplished much of anything in their life. They're living in probably a house that most of us bought 20 times over that have had success. And so they don't ever have anything, so they're very jealous and envious of people with a modicum of success. And so in return to that, they get that little thimble full of power, and they use it to steamroll over the people that have done better than them. And I caught Lonnie's speech the other day. Somebody sent me a link to it, talking about relationship building and all of that. And I'm like, these people that you're saying can't do that, these are like the most accomplished people in the Senate. In the private sector, which takes a lot more relationship building and talent and skill than the lies and manipulation that it takes to succeed in politics. Why would you want, as leader, and again, I'm not intended to throw him completely under the bus, because I don't know what drives all of that. Right. But why can't you just reach out to people and say, hey, as a leader in this world, what I do to my people is I say, how can I help you? Yeah. How can I help you succeed? Now, maybe you might tell me, well, Rob, I need to work 2 hours a day. And I'm going to say no to that one. Yeah. But if you tell me these other things you need, maybe those are things that we can agree on. Kind of like you said, hear the bill and vote it down. I think chairmen should have the power. I actually agree with that, but only when they use it appropriately. Like when they say, like they take their name, they don't look at the name. They say, this bill, I don't like that, but I'm not going to hear that. And then you look, oh, that's another Mike Reynolds bill. It doesn't surprise me, but I didn't look at the name before. Yeah. And so, so then Mike Reynolds has 10 bills and 3 get heard. because the chairman think those are reasonably, because you can't hear them all.
Well, you can.
Well, in the House you might be able to, but not in the Senate, because I don't like the limits.
But you can do what I did. The one year I was retirement chairman, and I think the Democrats hurrahed me. I said, okay, we've got 10 teacher COLA bills. You 10 guys get together and figure out which one you want to run. Right. If you can't figure it out, I'm going to pick one. But otherwise, I'm going to give you all the opportunity to have the input. We've got 10 police COLA bills. Get together, figure out. We're not going to, they're all the same.
Right.
Because we've got lawyer-client confidentiality with the House staff. And if you ask for a 2% teacher COLA and somebody else asks for a 2% and someone else asks for, they can't say, well, Senator Stanridge already asked. So they don't know. And so it's like, guys, we don't need all these bills because you're all doing the same thing. Figure it out ahead of the committee, or you're going to force me to make some decisions. But otherwise, I'm for your deal.
So it reminds me very much of one of the best people I've served with was Gary Stanislawski. You may have known Gary. Gary is not only a super senator, he's just a super gentleman.
Yeah.
And so he did it that way when he was chair of, I think, education.
Maybe he learned it from me.
Maybe so, Mike. But he was chair of education, and I remember I had some kind of bullying bill or something. And there was 5 or 6 of us, I guess, had a similar themed bill, and I came in the committee, and I mean, it's just such a great statesman. I mean, we are lacking in state. That's one of the problems. Yeah. We're lacking in statesmen. And so he would sit there and he said, okay. And like, I don't care, to be honest. There's some bills I cared. Like I ran this because this is close to my... But I'm never afraid of my vote. Yeah.
And most of them are.
But I mean, there's some bills that I did want to carry. Like, I mean, this is close to my heart. I worked hard on this. I want to do it. Right. But on something like that, I'm like, I defer. In fact, I think I deferred to Ron Sharp. I said, well, Ron has been working on this longer than I have. I think it makes sense for him to carry.
Right.
And Ron's, of course, in Ron fashion, yes, I'll take it. Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, because ownership is not a big deal for me unless I know that if I don't do it, it's not going to be done the way I want to do it. But
well, I bet I have a legislative record around the United States. I only got 5 bills passed. That wouldn't be a record, but 80% of my bills were vetoed or reversed.
Nathan takes a lot of pride. Senator Dom took a lot of pride in his veto record as well. But in fact, he passed. I think it was constitutional carry, and it got vetoed. And that's hard to believe. I'm sure the governor regrets that she vetoed that bill. But
I had one that was one. I don't even remember the exact content of the bill, but I believe it was certainly a personhood type of bill.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I had 2 or 3, but this one actually passed the House, passed the Senate, went to the governor, and Brad Henry. And Brad Henry announced in a press conference around 3 o'clock. Now, the House leadership wasn't very gracious to me, almost any of them, but that's all right. Because I did my own thing too. But Brad Henry announced about 3 o'clock that he was going to veto the bill at 5 o'clock. We had passed it that day and it had gone to the governor's desk. And so I went to the leadership and I said, this is Thursday. Could we stay in till 5:30?
To see if he vetoes it.
So if he vetoes it, we can do the override veto while it's fresh, and that'll just cut some time out of tomorrow, because we were going to leave like at noon. And they said, well, yeah, we will. One of the few times they were ever reasonable to me.
Oh, good.
So comes along at 5 o'clock, and Brad Henry says, I want to veto it at 7 o'clock.
Oh.
So I went back to leadership.
So they weren't necessarily being
I went back to leadership. No, and I said, can we stay until 7 o'clock? And it's like, yeah, we'll stay until 7.
Oh, really? Wow, okay.
So 7 o'clock comes, Brad Henry says, I'm going to veto it. I don't know if he said 10 o'clock or he went straight to midnight.
Okay.
But we'll just say he went to midnight to make the story a little shorter. And so, anyway, but he said 10 o'clock because we stayed in till like 11 o'clock at night.
Did he veto it?
He vetoed it at 12:05.
Oh.
So we couldn't. I don't know why they stay in after session now. I didn't think you could stay after midnight. But anyway.
No, technically I don't think you can, but sometimes
they did this year.
Sometimes they do, yeah.
And so I don't think they can either. Yeah. Anyway, so we come in the next morning, and they let me bring up the veto override. And so you know how they keep the vote open until the leadership usually can twist enough arms. But
Right.
all the Republicans were for it, and none of the Democrats were, but we only had 67 Republicans and we need 68.
Okay.
So we're sitting there, and there were 2 or 3 people not there, but I think Democrats. But they kept it open for about 45 minutes, and my friend Richard Morissette, Democrat,
Oh yeah, Richard.
came in. Good guy. Passed away just this past year. Richard came in, walked up to his desk, pushed the green button, and they were physically assaulting him over on the Democratic side. Pushing him around. He was kicked out of the Democratic Party convention that year.
Oh my God.
So he gave me the 68th vote. He was a Catholic, conscientious Catholic, and he attended my Southern Baptist Church that Sunday after that vote. So anyway, then it went to the Senate, and Todd Lamb was my Senate author. He tried to do a veto override, but we couldn't get the veto override in the state Senate. So the 5 bills that I got passed, 4 of them were significant bills like that. I couldn't even tell you what they are now because I don't care, but I didn't run do nothing bills. So
Yeah, I didn't either.
so a lot of people did. It's like, hey, I passed 27 bills this year. Oh yeah, tell me about your napkins.
Yeah, so I always had this thought after serving for a couple of years, and I mentioned it to everybody along the way, that I think the Senate or the legislature should go in for like maybe 2 weeks, and everything that's requested from lobbyists or agencies become committee bills.
Yeah.
No author,
Yeah.
just the committee, and you vote via Zoom, and you vote via unanimous consent, or Zoom if you want to vote it down.
I think the Constitution says you have to be in the chamber to vote. I think.
Well,
But
okay,
anyway.
so go in the chamber then,
Yeah.
and you don't. The committee just votes in mass. You can
Oh
vote.
yeah, not for the committee.
You
Yeah,
commit,
you can
no,
do
the
it in
committee Zoom.
Yeah, committee you probably could.
So you do a week or two to go through the committees on both sides. Then you come in and you just vote for all of those stupid that a monkey can do.
Yeah.
So you don't have monkeys available.
Yeah.
So don't use senators and representatives quality time where they're supposed to have brains to do their own thing.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the 3.5 months is spent doing the good and stupid ideas from actual people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's it. And talking about Richard Morissette, I can't leave this alone. I had a great relationship with Richard. I one of the few Democrats that I really got along. And our claim to fame was him and I ran the right to try long before President Trump was ever talked about or was a president or a candidate. We ran right to try. It was the first state in the country I think who did it. And as a pharmacist, I thought it was pretty cool that I ran that.
Yeah.
And Richard helped me. That was when I was just a freshman. I was just my first 2 years.
Yeah.
Richard helped me the entire time. I mean, he liked to rail against some of my other stuff, of course, and I appreciated that. But we worked together on that and got that signed by Governor Fallin. And I know several patients that I think ended up surviving as a result after that bill was passed, because then they could use some drugs that came over from Europe and some other that were still in trials. And so it was a great piece of legislation. And I'm sure President Trump probably saw Richards and I's work on that, Mike, and said, that Morissette and Standridge, I need to be more
What a
like those.
combination.
Yeah, I need to do more like them. Bipartisan effort. But okay, so we got the vetoes. So
well, let's go back to my accomplishment. I told you one. The other one was, again, David Bourne.
David Bourne, yeah.
So right now, sitting in the University of Oklahoma, there's stolen Nazi art.
Okay, yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
And it's provable. Probably at least 9 paintings.
Okay. Are they in the Boyd House?
They're in the
museum?
Is there a Fred Jones?
Fred Jones, yeah.
Museum, yeah.
Okay.
And so they were given. Now, all of this is my understanding, but it's pretty good. But I don't want someone sue me for libel or slander, so it's my understanding.
Allegedly.
I don't think there's any alleging. There was a guy that was appointed to the head of the Regents that donated those paintings, Weisenhofer.
Okay.
And he had an art gallery, allegedly, in New York. He moved to Oklahoma, and later in life decided to donate it to OU. Maybe he knew they were stolen, maybe he didn't. But he should have, because he should have.
Right.
And so, anyway, one of the paintings, it was discovered was owned by Leona Meyer. She's a French lady.
Okay.
When she was 3 years old, she was taken to Auschwitz with her parents.
Oh, wow, okay.
Her parents were gassed. For some reason, the Nazis didn't execute her, but they released her to the custody of a Jewish man that owned an art gallery in Paris. And so she was their only child. He later died, he and his wife. So she inherits all of the stuff. So if they recover stolen paintings, stolen from him, they become hers.
Okay.
As I understand it, she's the third wealthiest person in France.
Okay.
I know that she owned at one point that, if you've ever been to Paris, I've only been once.
I have not.
There's a mall there, I think it's called the Gaillardia Mall, kind of like...
No, okay, yeah.
It's like a 10-story mall that is the most upscale mall in probably the world. So she owns that mall. She's a multi-billionaire, apparently.
Okay.
And so this painting, there was litigation going on in New York for this painting to be returned. It had been going on for some time. Didn't know anything about it. I came in late in the game, not too late, but I came late in the game. So there was litigation going on, and they were going to lose in New York. So David Boren apparently was able, the judge was like a graduate from OU in New Boren. So he got him to transfer the case to Oklahoma.
Okay.
Because they were going to lose. It was based on treaties and some other things. I don't remember all the particulars. Somehow I became aware of this painting, and I frankly do not remember exactly how I first found out about it. But after finding out about the painting, I was contacted by attorneys in New York, and because I began saying it needs to be returned. Oh, and I had a little authority. It's something I wanted to do, but this story kind of runs together, and some of it I forget.
Okay.
I believe T.W. Shannon was in the short term as speaker, and he began neglecting his speakership like Todd Hyatt did when he was speaker, busy running for another office. Shannon was running for U.S. Senate. I kind of embarrassed him out of the speakership, and he resigned, and Jeff Hickman took over.
Okay, yeah.
Although that may have not exactly how it went down. It may have been I helped Hickman get elected. I'm not quite. I don't.
Well, Hickman ran.
Hickman actually ran. Okay, yeah. So I helped Hickman get the votes.
Okay.
So anyway, and so I'm in my 12th year, halfway through the session, and this is going on. And so Hickman, it was at the beginning of the session. Hickman comes to me and he says, "Hey, Mike, I've got to rearrange some committee chairs." But I think it's when Shannon resigned because something opened up. I think Hickman became the speaker and he was a committee chair of one committee and he had to put somebody in his. Anyway, so he said, "I'd like to make you a committee chair. You've been here for 10 years. You've been in chair for 2 years or 12 years." And I said, "Okay, I really don't want that. I don't need it. I've been here 11 years." And he goes, "Come on." I said, "I'll take one chairmanship. I'll take the Government Oversight Committee." And it was...
This is what I was thinking of when we were talking earlier. Okay.
Yeah, and it was a 2-part committee. It was Oversight and Administrative Rules. But I said, "I don't want the rules. I'll take... split it." And it's like, "Okay, why do you want that?" And I said, "Because I want to go after the stolen Nazi art at OU. And if you won't let me do that, then I don't want it." He said, "Yeah, I don't care as long as you don't spend any house money or resources on doing an investigation or whatever. Yeah, that'd be fine." So I said, "Okay." So I did it. So I started investigations, and Leona had enough money that she could afford to fly in attorneys from New York, fly in camera crews, and we televised it. And there was worldwide stuff. Even today in Israel, there's things going on. Our battery's going to die.
That one, yeah, but that's okay.
so you can fix that, I'm sure. Okay, and so I began working with them, and it's like, this is so offensive. Weisenhofer bought as the head of the Board of Regents by donating stolen art. And David Bourne used to get on TV in football games and say, "OU, the recipient of the largest private donation of artwork in the history of the world." And it's like, it's stolen artwork, you cretin.
Yeah.
And so, but he had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money to ensure that he wouldn't have to give it back until he confronted a billionaire. So ultimately, the Regents, we're putting enough pressure that I understand the Regents were saying, just give it back.
Yeah.
But he couldn't eat crow. He couldn't do it. So finally, they reached an agreement to return the painting. Now, OU acknowledged that she's the rightful owner, but the idiots then said in the agreement, she's going to get it for 3 years, but she has to give it to a museum in France.
Oh, okay.
Which she didn't mind doing. And then it'll come back to OU for 3 years. And then it'll go back to France for 3 years. And then it'll come back to OU for 3 years in perpetuity. Insanity. It's her painting. Her parents were executed by the Nazis. But that's all the crow that Bourne could eat, and they decided they would go ahead and do it.
Wow.
So, so I defeated David Bourne on that one too, and so that was very satisfying.
Yeah, that was. I was around. I kind of heard a little of that because I was there, but it was more outside the Capitol than inside the Capitol.
Well, and here's an irony of that is that painting is back for the 3-year cycle right now. Actually, I think the first time it went back for 5 years, and then it was alternating three.
Okay.
It's back now, and they still haven't hung it.
Oh, really?
I don't know if they heard we were going to do a demonstration down there or not, but they claim it's out for restoration. They have a lot less knowledge about restoration of paintings than the Museum of Orsay on the Seine River in Paris.
Yeah, I wouldn't want them doing that.
No. So I think it's not hanging on the wall because they're afraid of the demonstrations.
Maybe so.
So
I mean, that's an area when you have somebody like that where their family's been through that, they've been murdered, they've been gassed, and you're going to fight them nonstop when you know they have the financial upper hand. But oh well, yeah, I could see President Bourne, David Bourne, doing that. So 12 years fighting in the legislature. So now something that you and I are actually working on together,
right?
Because property tax in Oklahoma, like our budget in Oklahoma, like the government in Oklahoma, is out of control. How did this happen? How did you come upon this idea of that? What makes you think that our property taxes? Because I had the finance expert in the Senate scold me for 12 years. Oh no, we have low. Our property taxes are low. Blah blah blah. And I would say all the time that no, they're out of control. They're too high. Not just for me, but for everybody. Yep. And now everybody says that. Yep. Finally, all the citizens are saying that.
Nationwide.
It's been out of control forever.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of people start complaining.
Yep.
And so, what made you I mean, how long ago was this? When did you realize?
Okay, my brother spent 11 years, and I'm not sure which thing he did, the senior freeze or the 3%, 5% cap. I think he did the 3%, 5% cap.
Okay. Which isn't really a cap. That's exactly what they're going to raise it every time.
Well, that's true, but they could raise it a lot more. I mean, looked at
I don't like caps because caps means that essentially gives them permission to raise it that much every time. Not to knock your brother.
Right.
I think a good intention, but it's always misused by the government.
No, it took him 11 years to get that.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but basically, I never wanted the 5% cap on businesses.
No.
You've got Amazon, you've got these corporate giants that have a cap, and that they shouldn't have a cap. But he said we had to include that to get this.
To get it passed.
To get this passed.
Right.
And then I started talking. I don't remember again what it was, but earlier this year, or last year, I read something about property taxes that's nuts. What are they doing? I don't remember what it was. So I just Googled, I opened the Oklahoma Constitution, and I did a word search for ad valorem. And most of it is up here in Article 5 or whatever, but there was one phrase down in Article 12, I think it is, which is what we're running our petition on. And it said, in 1936, the legislature or the people passed an initiative that said the legislature can determine the amount of exemption for a residence by statute.
The homestead exemption.
The homestead exemption.
Yeah.
And it's like, I read that, it's like, do what? And I did the research. Have there been any court cases? Has there ever been a statute passed? No. And so it's like, that means we can say you could give 100%
right
homestead exemption or whatever.
I think Texas now is flirting with between 40 and 100,000.
Well, they got to do something because but that's a whole different story. Because I lived in Texas for 8 years.
I think with their exemption, though, since you've left, their exemptions are very generous. I mean,
yeah, but I'm just saying, but they're different because they don't have income tax.
Correct.
So they operate off of.
They do
literally.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Senator Sacchieri, I knew she was an assessor, and I started talking to her, and it's like, I remember I emailed, and she goes, "Does this mean what I think it means?" And I said, "I'm asking you too. You help me." And so we looked at it. It's like, okay, well, let's get the legislature to run a bill. They're not going to run a bill. I mean,
they'll run it. They'll not pass it.
No, they won't run it. I mean, they won't even let it be heard in committee.
That's right.
Because we proved that this year.
Well, Lisa, Senator Sanders, she ran one to increase it to $5,000 exemption.
Yeah.
Because she thought at least we could go up to that. That's a few $100 a year, but it would help.
Well, and so Senator Jett and Representative Stegall both introduced language exactly like in my bill. No, you're not getting that hearing. So we know they wouldn't. And Paxton says it's irresponsible. They haven't thought it out. No, we've thought it out. Right. And part of the problem is that most of the legislature, I bet 50% of the legislature doesn't even know how much Oklahoma spends. They think the budget of $11 billion is how much we spend.
12.3 or 6.
Or whatever. Yeah. And they're a bunch of dopes because we spend more like $37 billion.
That's correct. Yeah.
So taking $1 billion out for property taxes out of $37 billion is a heck of a lot different percentage than $1 billion out of a $10 billion budget.
Well, do you know that the 5-year span, I think ending in 24, that Oklahoma had over a 60% increase in their budget? Now, some of that they'll claim is because some movement of road money.
They claim all kinds of
60+% increase. OCPA had an article on this. I haven't been able to find it lately, but that is the most increase in budget in the entire nation over that 5 years, by double. Like New York was 30%, California was only at 13%, and so Oklahoma is out of control. So how about rolling a little bit of that back and giving the taxpayers relief? That would be an idea.
Well, and they're going to give $800 million to an aluminum plant from the United Arab Emirates.
Well, they were going to give it to Panasonic
first,
and
all this stuff.
Canoe, rocket plane.
We've already given hundreds and hundreds of millions to the Thunder, and we're going to build new
Tyson Chicken
stadiums and all this.
Tyson Chicken's going to come here anyway. We have the perfect state for a chicken farm. Why do you have to give them money? Yeah. You don't have to bribe them. Eventually they're going to come here.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Well.
And so anyway, so I read that provision, and
so when was this? When did this start? Last year? Or?
Oh yeah, probably. I'm going to guess. I probably read something that wound up the legislature last year about May that irritated me. So I started reading the Constitution and googling up ad valorem, not googling, but looking for ad valorem in the Constitution. I saw that, and it's like, okay, what do we do? And then it's like, well, let's pass an initiative petition. We don't have to pass a constitutional amendment because it was bothersome to me that we would have to get twice as many signatures for a constitutional amendment when a statute takes half as many. So let's do it statutorily. And so we organized that, and we did it. I purposely did it so that it would be a hot subject in the middle of the legislative session, so we could say these legislative leaders will never fix the problem. They had the opportunity, they had the whole session to do it, so we'll start gathering signatures after that. So it was targeted for us to start, for it to be a hot topic during the session this year. So I asked Senator Jett, he and I had worked together 2 years ago. I don't know if you recall, there was a initiative done to ban illegal aliens from voting.
Yeah, I think
it was a constitutional amendment.
Yeah. It was an initiative petition?
No,
HJR or something.
It was a SJR.
SJR.
Yeah, SJR. I'm sorry, but it still had to go to a vote of the people.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I was contacted by some people that had helped me years ago, probably in the Eccles campaign.
Okay.
And I hadn't talked to them in years. And they called me up. You can appreciate this as a senator. On the Friday before the adjournment week, so 7 days in physical days in advance of adjournment, they called me up and they said, hey, we want to run this bill to ban illegal immigrants from voting, constitutional amendment. It's like, okay, do you know we adjourn next Friday? Mm-hmm. It's like, it ain't gonna happen. It's like, well, yeah, we know, but we want to get it done. This is a Republican issue, and we want it in as many states, and we've already got it in a bunch. Right. So we'd like to have it in Oklahoma too. And I go, do you know we adjourn next Friday? Yeah. And did you know Monday's a federal holiday?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, we knew that if it could be done, you would know how to do it. And I go, well, I know the one way not to do it is to not try.
That's correct. Yeah. At least try.
So you want me to try? I'll try. So I contacted Senator Jett and told him what we're looking at. And so it's like, okay, I'm all in. And so I called him back. I said, okay, I've got a senator that will run it. And he'd already found a bill that someone would give to him. At that point, he wasn't so ostracized that they would give an HJR that someone would give him. Or maybe you don't, an SJR, but maybe you don't have to have an introduction. I don't remember.
Well, you don't have to, the deadlines don't apply, but you can't get it through committee in that time. So he probably found a vehicle.
So he must have, I think he found a vehicle. And so, but it hadn't even been a second read yet.
Oh, okay.
And so, which is a key part of the story. And so it's like, okay. So he goes, he says, now John Eccles ran against me in 2008, but John and I are friends. So I got him as the House author because he was the floor leader. I'm not a dope when it comes to getting stuff passed. I just can't get my stuff passed. So I said he would be the House author. He would carry it. And so Shane, over the weekend, got like 27 co-authors.
Yeah, I'm sure I was one of those. Yeah.
And so then they're flying their lobbyist in, and he's going to come in. It's like, okay, great. He can't get there till Wednesday. I go, guys, we got 4 days. They've never even heard of this before. Are you crazy? I said, bring him on. Okay, so Shane gets all the co-op by anyway. So Wednesday morning, the guy comes in late Tuesday night. I'm calling him up until 11:15 in the morning. He's not answering his phone. And we were supposed to meet at 11:30 at the Capitol with the senators. And finally I head down there. I'm calling outside his building. He goes, man, I'm sorry. When I got in last night, I didn't put my alarm on ring. It was a long day. We go to the Capitol, and it's like, okay, how are we going to do this? And I said, well, there's only one way you're going to get all the senators, or the ones that might vote for this together. You got to buy them lunch. Mm-hmm. So I go down and get 55 barbecue sandwiches at down there at Lincoln, and come back, and we get them to all come in, and we give them the pitch. And by then we've got 32 co-authors, which is 32 was the number we needed.
Okay.
So we pull it off, and so now we're going to do this thing. And so Treat promises that he'll bring it up on Wednesday. He doesn't bring it up.
No, not surprised.
Yeah, just a bald-faced lie.
Well, sure.
And yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. Yeah, we'll bring it up. You got 32, whatever. So it's like, okay, we're dead. So we're in there strategizing. What do? We're dead, because they said, it's got to be go through second reading and third reading, and there's not time to do it in the House. You could finish it in the Senate, but it'd be too late to get it to the House. So it's like, so a guy who wasn't a legislator at all, but one of our strategists said, I thought, and I said the words, I said, a bill has to be read 3 times. And he goes, well, this isn't a bill, is it?
Yeah, I was wondering if that applies to SJRs.
And I go, wait a minute. I go out and get on the computer, look it up. There's no 3 reading thing on JRs.
Yeah, I don't think the same rules apply.
And so I go back in, and guys, it's not the same on JRs.
In fact, I think Dusty Senator Deaver or Senator Grellner filed an SJR yesterday.
Because it's probably because they found out what we learned then.
Yeah.
So we go to treat and say, okay, you messed us around today. We want to bring it. It's too late. You can't do 3 readings. And it's like, well, guess what? It's a JR, and the Constitution doesn't say you have to do that. So, no, that's not correct. So, blah, blah, blah. So they spend the night with Senate attorneys trying to figure out how they can kill us. The next morning they go, no, there's a Supreme Court ruling that says we can't do it, so we've lost.
Sorry.
Yeah. I said, what's the Supreme Court ruling? Well, it's a case back in whatever. It's like, I don't care. What's the ruling? What is the case number? I go get the case number. That case is totally unrelated. They had tried to do appropriations through a JR at the last minute.
Oh, okay.
And the Supreme Court said, you can't do appropriations through a JR. They didn't say you couldn't do a JR without 3 readings.
Yeah, okay.
And so it's like, no, Mr. Treat, you're totally... So then he finally had to eat some crow. He realized we knew we had him, so he said he'd bring it up. We waited all day Thursday, and he's not bringing it up. The House is going to adjourn sine die. And I'm telling Eccles, who's the floor leader, they're over there praising the secretaries and the LAs and all that stuff because they're ready to go.
The end is coming.
It's over because it's done. You don't do anything after that.
That's correct. Yeah,
and they're calling me on the phone. Reynolds, you've got to get this thing over there. You've got to get it done through the Senate because we're trying to adjourn right now. And I'm going, my name is Mike Reynolds. I'm a public servant. I'm not a member of the Senate. I can't do anything. Why don't you guys call Treat and tell them to get it done? Anyway, they finally voted on it about 6:30 because they were waiting for the House to adjourn. They had nothing else to do. To keep his promise, he had to bring up a vote. He did. It took him about bill processing about an hour to get it over to the House, and it passed just like that, and we got it on the ballot.
When was that on the ballot? Do you remember what?
The general election last time.
Oh, last time? Okay.
Yeah, the last general election.
Okay.
And so, but Eccles, everybody said, that's impossible.
It is impossible. It is impossible.
2 days.
It is impossible. But sometimes you can do the impossible easier than the possible.
Yes.
Not that was easy, but yeah.
But they had we had them hogtied.
Yeah.
You don't want to vote. We will bury you with this.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's those midnight hours. I mean, that's how Kevin West and I did the masks, and we did the license to kill and vaccine. I mean, a lot of those things you have to find a vehicle and you have to put pressure on those last hours, which I don't like that. Well, Common Core, I had.
Well, it was good for me because you weren't in the Senate that long, but my brother used to come over to the House and say, "Mike, when are you going to let us go home?"
Yeah, the Senate.
Because I would force a recorded vote, on every single issue when they wouldn't hear my bills. Yeah. Which was always 5 bills in 12 years.
Yeah.
So I would ask for a recorded vote to advance from 3rd reading. Recorded vote when they moved to table. Recorded vote. I'd get 4 or 5 recorded votes on every single bill. I killed so much bad legislation because they'd save it all till the last week. Yeah. And now you don't have time because Reynolds is going to object at every turn.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all it would take is just to hear a few bills. So
yeah.
So the no home property tax is initiative petition, and it is, and we have, and I'll be promoting this when we post the podcast, but we have also a PAC, which we're both involved in that, to raise money, which we do definitely need to raise some money.
Yep.
Because once it gets through the legal challenge, we got to collect signatures, and then we have to promote it so we can get voted on.
Right.
And so, but what in essence, if I understand this correctly, is that it increases the exemption over a 3 or 4 year period.
33%. If it's your homestead.
It has to be your homestead, your primary residence. Yeah.
And a homestead is defined in the Constitution as 40 acres
okay.
at most. So if you've got a 6,000 acre ranch, you're only going to get to exempt 40 acres, whatever. But just a homestead.
Okay.
And
each person can only have one.
Yes, a homestead by definition currently is you have one potential homestead.
per married
married couple,
per
yeah.
married couple.
Yeah,
so you can't go out there and double dip and do these things. Okay.
I mean, if you got divorced, you could.
Well,
but
sure.
Otherwise,
Right.
the husband can't own one and the wife can't own one.
So it's pretty. It's been around a long time. It's designed for
never been exercised.
It's designed for somebody that lives in the home. So now with this homestead exemption, this no on property tax, which is a no-brainer, the budget of the state has gone up billions of dollars in just a few years. Just wind it back down.
Yeah.
Cover this cost, but that means these young couples that dreamed of having their own home maybe can have it now.
Yeah, I mean, well, and for multiple reasons. One reason, huge reason, is there's out-of-state corporations now buying houses all over the United States to turn them into rental properties.
Oh yeah.
Now they're competing against homeowners, and their bill is going to be higher because they have to pay property taxes. So,
and maybe the legislature should consider raising the property tax on out-of-state owners, if that's possible.
Well, I think they should raise it on corporations.
Or corporation, somebody that's
absolutely. If they want to make it up, there's plenty of places to get rid of the exemption.
But we don't
get
want
rid of ad valorem reimbursement.
But we don't want to get rents too high either. So maybe I'm sure there's a financial solution in there, but you could probably.
Maybe they could quit giving. I mean, Governor Stitt wants to do a $2 billion savings account. Hey, that's crazy, but that'd cover it right there.
Yeah.
So
it's a certain amount of savings is good, but I think we're hoarding a lot of taxpayer money right now.
Yeah, well, and the savings is not necessary. The Constitution contemplated that.
Yeah.
We have 5% overage every year that they turn around and appropriate. They shouldn't. The Constitution says they should pay off bond debt. They don't do it, but they don't do a lot of things. This will force the legislature, at least for $1.5 billion a year, to be more fiscally responsible.
And they must be. They must be.
They won't have a choice.
And I'll tell you, I've told you this before, but I have family that has property in Florida.
Yeah.
And I have family that live in Florida, actually. But I have family that owns property in Florida on the ocean or on the Gulf. And the property tax at those properties is less than what I pay for my home, and they're worth more. And this is in a state that isn't famous for low property taxes, but they're lower there than they are for my home here that's worth on paper less money. So I mean, we have a disconnect, I think, between the legislature, the counties, and the people. They're trying to convince the people that their property taxes are low, maybe a little bit compared to Texas, but I think that gap is closing. Plus, we have income tax. Plus, we have no oceans.
Right.
We have no ski resorts. But a beautiful state. I love Oklahoma.
And lots of oil and gas revenue.
Yeah, we got to get our property taxes gone. I say get rid of them. I think if you own your home, I think you should own your home.
Well, and you can't cut it by 50%. You can't cut it by 25%. It's either moral or immoral, and I consider it immoral.
I don't think you should pay the government rent on your home. I just don't. I've never thought that. I understand where they came from. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they were 50 cents in a lollipop when they started, like everything else. But now it's out of control.
And my understanding, I'm not going to spend the time to go do the research. My understanding is back in the day that this was started, you had to be a property owner to vote.
That's correct. I would bet that's true because that went away somewhere along the process.
So if you're going to let people that aren't property owners vote to raise my property taxes, that is immoral.
There's a reason that our founders believe you own property, and you just nailed it. I mean, because the taxes for property owners are completely different than taxes for non-property owners. Yeah. And for let somebody here, it's just like somebody voting to increase income tax when they don't get out and get their own damn job. Because it's easy for them to say tax the hell out of somebody that works hard when they're not willing to work. We've got a very much that's why I think the Save America Act is so important, because I think we have a lot of people voting that should not be voting, and we have a lot of illegals that are the Democrats want to be voting. How many are we? Not sure. So the last topic I want to touch on just real quickly is the Freedom Caucus. Yeah, I know that you're following that. We have, I know we have some private members and public members. Mm-hmm. I'm a member of the Freedom Caucus. I'm very jealous because Nathan and I kind of started that as we're leaving the legislature, so I'm very jealous that my wife, and you mentioned Saki area, but others have that amazing group. And I get asked quite a bit now when I meet with potential politicians or legislators around the state about the Freedom Caucus. And I'll mention a few public members that are just phenomenal. My wife first, of course. Lisa Standridge, Senator Standridge, is amazing. 100% on the conservative index. Kendall Sacchieri, you mentioned Kendall earlier. The Sacchieris, I've known that family for 30 plus years.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We have a business right down the street. In fact, when we started business in Blanchard, Ray's father, Kendall's husband, who's an awesome dude. I love Ray. His dad was the mayor, I believe, around that time.
I see.
Tom, and I love Tom. He's a patient of mine. Anyway, great people. Rock star senator. Kendall is a rock star senator. You have Julie McIntosh, a physician from out the eastern part of the state.
Senator Grellner.
Senator Grellner. McIntosh was kind of a bit of a protege of Coburn. Was a dear friend of mine, Tom Coburn, former Senator Coburn. Lost him a few years ago. Yeah. But Julie is a rock star. She's phenomenal. Randy Grellner is phenomenal. Anyway, a lot of great people. Dusty Devers, Shane Jett. A lot of really great people.
Bunch in the Senate.
A bunch more in the Senate. I can't mention them because we allow anonymous members, but we have some amazing rock stars that just, I respect anonymous members. Some of the Freedom Caucus members have asked me about that. I respect it completely. They're voting correctly. Yeah. I mean, I say that. They're voting with their conscience. And so they don't have to vote with the Freedom Caucus every time. Right. But if the leadership understood how powerful, if they would just open their eyes and understand that these people are amazing people and they're stepping on them like they're bugs. It just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I went on a little bit there because Freedom Caucus is close to my heart, like the property taxes for you. What are your thoughts on the Freedom Caucus? Are you jealous like me? What are your thoughts on it as a former legislator?
Well, I had one go-to guy that would, two go-to guys. One in the Senate, Randy Brogdon.
Okay.
Randy Brogdon, I couldn't have survived without Randy Brogdon and my friend Bob Daney.
Okay.
I mean, he'd pick me up almost every day for lunch.
Yeah, Bob Daney's an awesome dude. I love Bob.
And so without those two guys, I don't know how I would have ever survived. But we fought our battles, and I fought mine, and it's all right for me to fight alone. I am so thankful that we've got a group of people now together, because when they stand together, and they do, they're going to change things. And Oklahoma has to change for the sake of our children and grandchildren, whatever. So I'm just thankful that they've got the support and they can support each other so they'll grow. Because these other people, many of them, I won't say all, but many are just in there for self-serving motivation. They're looking for their next job. They're either running for Department of Education or a state labor commissioner, and not all of them are bad. I mean, I love Representative West. I think he'd do a great job. I think some of the alternatives are a pathetic excuse for a person to be a labor commissioner or even a representative. So, but I'm glad they've got that moral support between each other.
Yeah.
There, because I never need. It was helpful, but I didn't need a big group because that's just not my personality.
I think it's huge. I had close people around me too, and that's helpful. But I think it's starting to build
for sure.
And when you talk to some of the people that are going to come into the Senate potentially, they're on fire for it. I mean, it's really cool. The public loves it.
Yeah, and the grassroots are the people that are going to turn out the voters, because as you and I know, and we've talked about here earlier, door knocking wins elections, and you can spend as much money as you want, but if someone knocks on your door, how many people have I ever said, you're the only person that ever came to my door, I'm voting for you?
Yeah. That's the way it is. Well, Mike, Honorable Mike Reynolds, it has been fun. It's been a pleasure, but that sounds like the Clark Charlie colleague, doesn't it? Honorable. But anyway, it's been a real pleasure, Mike.
Thank you, man.